What's up, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. I'm with Eric from Nine Panel Grid, man. Eric, how you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. This is going to be so much fun getting to go over this book yet again.
Whew, yeah, we have quite the task ahead of us. We are going to be looking over Darcy Van Poelgeest, Ian Bertram, Matt Hollingsworth, Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou, and Ben Didier's Precious Metal series, the prequel to Little Bird, which we covered on this channel a little while ago. That was a daunting task in and itself. You remember that?
I do, yeah, man. Like it's one of those stories though that's so worthwhile and like it's so enriching with each and every reread.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, we covered the hardcover in the channel. So if you haven't read Little Bird yet, you can certainly get into that before getting into this video or getting into Precious Metal itself. I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary, but it's kind of like one of those Star Wars things, man. You really want to start them on the original trilogy before you get them into anything else. And so that's how I would recommend reading it because that's how we got to read it. So we all have the same perspective. But you can certainly check out Little Bird on the channel if you haven't yet, though. But man, you ready to get into this?
Yes,
Let's
let's
do it.
do it.
All right, so 6 issues. We are going to start over on issue number 1. First off, the design on the covers themselves. Ben handles most of the design on here. Amazing color palette. I love just the aesthetic of it. It's cardstock. It pops off the shelf. What an amazing shot here of Max Waver on the cover. What do you think about that?
Dude, it's eye-catching without a shadow of a doubt, but what really makes me curious, I guess, and about this is that it's so vastly different from what we got from Little Bird, where Little Bird was so vibrant and so colorful, and this is
Yeah,
so dark and dreary. So, and obviously that's something that's mimicked within the pages as well.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, and we're going to be getting into a lot of these themes and everything. We're going to do our best to cover the story as well as we understand it. There are a lot of combination of themes riddled throughout this entire story. So part of the exercise here is not only going through page by page and letting you guys see the story itself and intake all this art and everything, but we're also going to go over how we perceive the story to be going, the different elements inside of it, how things are connected, and hopefully we're going to learn some stuff too. Because after multiple rereads, even for me, I still haven't picked up on everything yet. So it's going to be a little bit of a fun exercise to kind of go through this with you and see how your notes compare to mine. So let's get into it right now. I mean, even in the back covers right here, we got some amazing design work right away. So Max Weaver, portrayed inside of Precious Metal here, a character that we've seen inside of Little Bird. I think he came in around issue 3 or so. He was Sarge, an amazing character that was kind of vital to the entire story. This is a prequel book going over what he was doing about 35 years previously to Little Bird. But we're going to open up with this amazing bar scene here with these characters that we've gotten kind of spoiled from Ian Bertram with. He's drawing these amazing characters, very elongated. It's very like Blade Runner esque in a way, but he's got like this, I don't know, like melting clocks kind of like Dali look to a lot of his work. It's just quite amazing. What a great opening page right here.
Yeah, and it's dude, it's so reminiscent. Like you had mentioned, you want to start people on the original trilogy. This feels so much like that Mos Eisley scene in the original Star Wars as well,
For
where you
sure.
get like the little the faces of every individual person in the bar and how interesting each one of their stories could be.
Yeah, exactly. They all stand out. They're all unique. We talked to Darcy and Ian. They were saying that like in these kinds of towns, everybody looks like they're doing something. Everyone's carrying something, walking away. So there's a purpose for their existence on the panel. You know, they're either enjoying their libations or they're going to work or they're running errands or doing something like that. But what an amazing opening panel here with basically Max kind of in this dream state, right? And so he's talking about it's not easy to start or to pick a beginning to this story in general. He's really talking about his life. There's so many things that we're going to be talking about as far as dreams go, and like his purpose and the responsibilities he's abandoned and that he's picked up over time. But amazing opening bar sequence here. We're going to be walking through our town, and again, if you've read Little Bird, you're going to see a lot of recognizable features, characters, situations, things like that, and even some recognizable characters like the bishop, who's actually hidden in this corner over here, which I think is really really cool, scattered through here. But he's really kind of giving us a narration about the city itself, what the story is going to bring you, which is basically a story of a boy who became a weapon. Now we're going to be dissecting that a little bit more as we go through. But great opening page. Let me get this like splash credits right here showing you the title of the chapter. Really cool design here. And man, we're going to go right into it right here with this child that we're going to be introduced to. Max, being like this bounty hunter, he's been sent out. to track down these different mods. They have indentured servitudes that they're trying to serve, and so Max is hunting this unknown mod down right now, and we're going to be unlocking some of this mod's secrets very soon. But man, what a great like crazy sci-fi helmet, whatever this might be in this page right here.
Yeah, I love the technology of this world that they build because it's like so different than anything that we've ever really experienced from I don't know, multiple facets of sci-fi and everything related. It's so unique and different. It's just beautiful, beautiful work here by Ian.
Yeah, the backgrounds especially, you can kind of see that depth obviously in here. Some presumably spaceships and things like that. We're going to be exploring some of those designs as well as we go through. But here's some more of the fanatics over here. So these are some members of a cult we're going to be exploring as we go through. Max is kind of eyeing him down right now. He knows exactly that's the target he's been looking for, and we get this amazing page right here. Very much Ian Bertram style faces, eyes, features, and whatnot right here. Great, just a great continuation of what we've seen inside of Little Bird.
Yeah, all the subtle hatch work that he does there on those close-ups of the faces too is just great.
And we talked about in Little Bird too, some of the representations of like this giant circle, this eye or whatever it might be. And so we see it some more played out through here. This
Mhm.
dome thing that was over this character's head, this child's head, was more of a like a psychic, what was it, like a psychic dampener in a way. Like he couldn't use his powers when
Yeah,
that thing
almost
was
like a
around his
reverse
head.
Cerebro or something like that,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Very, very cool. There are some religious tones all the way through here. As soon as this helmet is removed, he starts talking about the third of the rivers, third of the springs, all of the water came death, and we get to see just exactly what that psychic power this child holds is all about right here, turning this captive guy basically into a cross right here with all the many layers. He lasagnas him right off in the first part right here. Very striking opening scene.
Yeah, to say the least, right? Like, I mean, sheesh.
Yeah. And we get some great composition work in here, some paneling. You get to see that cross right here between the eyes of these characters. Just really imaginative stuff. And you have this blowout boom that shoots out to the right. And then all you're left with is, like I said before, the lasagna version of this the captor right here. Really like that. So this is where it starts getting a little trippy, as if it wasn't trippy enough. So Max Weaver is being introduced to this child. He sees this child's power on display. He's being taken back in time to this moment where there's these different ships that are coming on to the shore. These ships are usually destroyed, things like that. And we're building a memory. This child is saying right here. Max comes from a background where he doesn't quite understand. He doesn't have a lot of memory of what happened. He doesn't know where he came from. But we keep talking about these burning ships on the horizon. We're going to piece more of this together as the story progresses and see like what the relevancy between all this is. But he gets this immediate flashback when this kid unleashes his power for the first time, which completely sets him off guard right here to a point where this like rugged bounty hunter dude is like fleeing from the scene because of what he saw this child do in the previous page.
Yeah, and this is the very beginning of the first of a bunch of repeating motifs that we're going to see within this story here, particularly with Max, the water, and the boat itself here. But I love the
Oh yeah.
juxtaposition between pages, between the memory of the past and the very real reality of what's happening right here and right now.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely running away. We have all these graffiti marks for the 12 on here. Again, this book is going to be just layered with all kinds of symbology and all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to be introduced to a very interesting character. We're not going to see his character for a little while, but we have Elle the Blade right here. She's actually running this little group of bounty hunters. She's the one who hired Max to begin with to hunt down this kid, and he's saying right here, you said you didn't say anything about him being a mod, so, that'll cost you extra. Trying to keep it cool, lighting that cigarette, just kind of chilling right now after he just witnessed what he saw. And then he had that kind of flashback right here. He teams up with Elle, the Blade. They go up to those disciples. And of course, they start their confrontation right here, demanding that the child comes with them and whatnot. And this is one of those cool scenes where you have a lot of different factions. This world is really rich in depth with different kinds of cults or just groups of people that are just warring for territory and power and resources in this entire world, really adding a richness to the world in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that when we're introduced to characters, we're never given the full story either. There's so much more to explore with, well, everyone that we've
Yeah,
seen so far, both Max and Elle specifically, though.
yeah. Of course, your typical gunfights right here. We get to see Max's arm over here too. It's kind of like this tentacle. apparatus. Not exactly sure how it operates or whatnot, but he has full control over it. Kind of like, I don't know, like 100 fingers or something like that. I don't know how to describe it, but it is kind of like, it's eerie, but it's also really cool at the same time. Just another great design from Ian and team right there.
Yeah, exactly.
We get to see some of the ships and things like that over here from the disciples. Max is actually on the run. He grabs the child in these scenes and actually takes off right here because he wants some answers. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to figure out what exactly is going on. But he actually grabs this kid and makes a break for it to get some answers and to, of course, what do you do at the end of a gun battle? You get a cigarette and you get your flask out. You just try to chill there for a minute.
Yeah, it's great that they're working on the tropes of that hard luck hero, right? They're like building that up with Max in such a great way.
Yeah. And here's this cube thing going around right now. So, the cubes here are going to represent a lot of different things throughout the book. And in this instance here, it's almost like a prison, like a cage, a power dampener, like you mentioned too before, kind of like that reverse Cerebro kind of a thing.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it's really, really interesting. And we're going to see this in different ways throughout the story right here. Interesting character here, Jelly. He actually runs a scrapyard. And Max used to work with him back in the day. These ships that would come on the shore, they would actually wreck on the shore. There would be a team that would come and collect the wreckage, and then Max was one of the scrap guys working over in Jelly's area right here. So that's really cool. Jelly has some connections to the underground. He's trying to get a hold of somebody who can give him some more information about how this mod works, how this child works. So that's what we're trying to do right here. We're also introduced to Jax, who's Jelly's son. He doesn't really play a pivotal role, but he's actually walking Max to who we're going to meet soon, which is designer Chen. And we're going to be exploring some more of her here very soon. But this is a great little sequence of just kind of walking through the town, getting an idea what's going on. And we're going to see this amazing drapery over here in these pages, just again, showcasing how much of a badass Ian Bertram is in this interior work here.
Yeah, definitely more great world building here by both Darcy and Ian.
For sure. Designer Chen, she's kind of like a shady business person, right? Was that your interpretation? Like she's kind of sitting back, she's holding a legitimate business, but she's got her fingers into a lot of like underground stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you could definitely tell that she is a character that's going to be looking out for herself first and foremost before anything.
Yeah, for sure. And he's asking about like, hey, I'm looking for a particular rug. What about this rug? The kind of rug that makes itself at home in your head. So obviously they're talking in some kind of cryptic language just to kind of get on the same page with each other. But
Hmm.
what I love here is they're now in like this mod room in a way, and so she's interested in this rug or this rug that's really a mod. So you can see like these different patients and whatnot all over the place. And what I like is like this design right here, this like child design. We're gonna see this more later, and we saw it in Little Bird as well. These like smaller children with like really really round heads. Really interesting continuity right there. But we get to see all these different patients, and this is a really interesting character. I think it's Yoru, if I'm not mistaken, how to pronounce that name. Is that how you understand it?
That's how I read it to myself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Really cool character, all eyes. And I remember when we talked to Ian, we were like, man, we need more characters with just nothing but a bunch of eyes in there. But foreshadowing for this character's involvement for later parts inside this book.
Yeah, for sure.
Here we go, man. So we're sitting here, we're talking about getting some help from designer Chen right here. I think her name is Selena in this story. So she's going to be helping him out, getting him where he needs to go. His special power, Yoru's special power, is what we're going to be seeing on display right here. He basically consumes you completely. And I don't know if you black out. He's kind of like a transportation device in a way, but it's almost like he consumes you. You black out for a moment and then you reawake wherever you need to be. And he does all the traveling for you. Pretty cool character.
Yeah, definitely.
So she's going to actually send Max over to the Resistance. They have a bunch of questions for him. They're all looking for the same kid, and so she wants to kind of vet Max. She knows that the Resistance characters here are going to be questioning him. We don't quite know their intention or who exactly they are necessarily at this point right here. We unpack that further through the story though. But he's in an interrogation mode right here. They got him tied to the chair over at the docks right now, and questioning him where the kid is and things like that. He says he's over by the ship. He was taken since then. Everyone's mad at each other right here. Hassan's lettering in this spot really, really shines, I think. When you have these different characters, You have his inner monologue, which is just black, right? And then you have, of course, the regular monologue, which we usually see. But then these characters here have a real robotic, crackling, demonic voice. Really, really stands out to me. And I think Hassan's doing an amazing job. Full display right here. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, dude, it's so unique and it's so different than what Aditya did with Little Bird. I'm not gonna say that's like better or worse by any means, but I feel
Right.
like it's definitely uniquely Hassan. So I really love what he brought to this book here and kind of put his stamp on it.
Yeah. So they actually do say here he's taken by the death cult, the disciples of the 12. So we have this resistance force here questioning Max. The kid has been taken again. And what's great is, as we continue through here, again, we're going to understand more about these warring factions and everything. And he's saying that this kid is basically like a danger to the resistance, and he can help find the kid and everything like that. But they've kind of had enough with Max's shenanigans and how he's interfered with all their plans and whatnot. They're just going to take care of him. We get this really eerie moment right here where we see Jax, Jelly's kid, who we saw earlier, who took Max to Selena to begin with. He's crying in the corner, like watching this happen. He's like walking up with all these wires and stuff. A really, really eerie moment right here. Then we find out that this kid's totally drank the Kool-Aid. He's got the 12 tattooed on his head. He's kind of like holding everybody up right now. And he's got that classic, Dark Knight Joker raising his jacket up, and he's got all the grenades kind of stuff going on. What an incredible scene right there.
Yeah, this definitely sets the stakes for the world that we've been delivered within the first, 15, 20 pages of this book so
Yeah.
far. Like, this shows how real, like, the resistance, the 12, the church, like, everyone's part is to play with everything. So,
And everybody's so serious in their roles.
yes.
Like this is a child that's been completely brainwashed and will do whatever he can do to stop people from finding this kid. And we're gonna unpack the role of the 12 here going forward. But amazing, amazing explosions right here, great directional devices. You're going straight down. And we get to see a lot of cool things about Max's anatomy and some of the battle damage, I could call it, that
Yeah,
he's
for sure.
sustained. So, and originally in Little Bird, we meet him for the very first time 35 years later. He's missing what? An arm. He's got an eye patch. He's got scars everywhere. He's got fake legs.
Yeah, he's
We're
been
gonna get
around the block a couple times for sure.
we're gonna get there indeed through this whole series. But just great, great panel right here of him going down with that shrapnel in his eye, taking him out right there. Another great scene. He's kind of in this like passed out state at the moment. He's reliving those memories of that dark sea, talking about the third angel sounding the trumpets over in Revelations. And they're talking about wormwood and how this fallen star is going to fall out of the sky and poison all the water and whatnot. And then we get some glimpses of his mom right here talking about the name of the star was Wormwood, which is the first reference we're going to have to Wormwood inside here, which we're going to unpack some more. Dude, look at this page right here. It's
Dude,
incredible.
yeah, that's great. I love the panel break. You see how each panel like is laid out in a very cinematic way, but then we have Max at the bottom kind of breaking between those panels here as he kind of bursts back into reality. It's really, really wonderful visual storytelling.
Yeah, I didn't see that panel break previously, so I'm glad you pointed that out. Just like right here, I
Hmm.
love that. We asked Ian about this too when we talked to him, and he was talking about some splatter effects and whatnot. I think it was like a whiteout pen splatter. It was really really cool to see how they achieved this like water foam effect. Really cool. Of course, he's reliving some memories. He's like a child version of himself right now, or I guess this is another child. He's like witnessing this child drowned, and there's a lot of perception issues right here, unreliable narration and whatnot.
Hmm.
So we're going to be going through that some more here. But yeah, you can see Max's little like tentacle arms over here too, kind of suggesting that he's in a memory that he shouldn't be in right now or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're back over with Selena right now. She's in her little mod bunker, I would say. He's been a patient. He's hooked up to all kinds of stuff. You remember in Little Bird, we have a moment where I think it was Little Bird being interrogated. We talked about just like the impossible nature of the world when it comes to like the medical aesthetics, the equipment and everything hooked up to him. Like, what is all this stuff doing? You know what I mean? Like, that's the first thing. As somebody in a medical background, I'm looking at this stuff going like, what is happening? What are they pumping this dude with? It's
Yeah,
incredible over here.
everything is like a floating orb of goo that has wires
Yeah,
attached to it that does something, I guess, magically, scientifically, whatever. Like, none of it should work, but it looks so freaking cool.
right. Oh, it's insane. It's insane. So he's asking what happened to him. He's met with Yoru over here. He was really upset with him because he didn't quite understand. Maybe he did understand his power set. I feel like he may have when he first met him, when he kind of consumed him. But right here, he's very untrusting. He's, don't try anything. Next time I see you, you're dead. And he's looking down like, oh, dude, he forgot his gun. And then he comes back and comically grabs it and says, "Starting now."
Yeah.
I just love that little moment of levity right there. It was like one of the only parts of this entire series where you almost laugh out loud at it.
Dude, Yoru has like such a puppy dog like quality to him. I kind of love
Oh, for
that.
sure. Yeah, look at that big eye. They always say, like, if you want to make your characters, what is it, like, feel precious or have some kind of emotion, you have to look at their eyes and make them a little bit bigger than normal.
At the
Well,
window
that's
to
the
the
biggest
soul.
eye you're going to see in comics right there.
There you go.
All right. Really cool moment right here, too. So we're back over in Jelly's junkyard. We're a week later. We're trying to figure some stuff out. We're essentially defeated. We found this child. It's unlocking this memory. We're now obsessed with this kid, trying to figure out, like, okay, this kid has the ability to maybe help figure out who I am. I need to track him down. There's all these factions trying to look for him as well. Things are getting real desperate. People are killing each other over this. And so we're going back over to Jelly's to fix our spaceship or whatever it might be. We talked about these panels with Ian. Really incredible work, kind of like putting this all together, making the impossible look possible. It's just really cool things that he's doing right here, talking to Jelly about where he's going to be going. And it's not a great idea that he has, but he's actually going to be going back to visit his ex-wife because she has some ideas of where these 12 might be. So we're going to unpack that later right there. But man, do you remember talking to Ian about these different panels and whatnot on their spaceships and just like that general conversation about design work? It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was awesome because I love that, like, Darcy, obviously, they would work together on Little Bird, and, like, they had an incredible amount of trust between one another, and he kinda just said, like, "Let Ian cook," for lack of a better term, and it was
Yeah,
able to just put together insanity, but, like, controlled chaos kind of insanity.
for sure. Yep. Selena, who's also, we're going to unpack this character a little bit more. She's a designer. I consider a designer as like a class of person almost, like or maybe a trade of some kind. So that's why we kind of refer to her as Designer Chen. I believe Chen is her last name. She's interested. She's like, things have escalated. Max is mad at her because, like, basically you kidnapped me and put me in this dock with this crazy lunatic resistance who tried to kill me. And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they were just going to question you and whatnot." So she's actually interested in teaming up with him to try to find this kid. And we're going to unpack her motives as we go. Really cool moment right here. This is actually a sculpture that Jax, Jelly's son, put together. And he's talking about, like, I never told him that, I really enjoyed his sculptures. I know I never told him that. He doesn't know, like, the meaning necessarily behind all of it. I don't think. Maybe he does, but it's just like really cool moment right there of Jelly reflecting on the loss of his son in this moment.
Yeah, again, beautiful world building, right? Because, like, I mean,
Yeah,
first of all, the worst place that Max, I feel like, could have gone would be back to Jellies, considering who just put him in the predicament that he's been in right now.
yeah,
But then on
for
top of that,
sure.
just like seeing the remorse of a secondary character, right? It gives you that moment of, like, I don't know, feeling for this person that we're not going to spend a terrible amount of time with, but it like fleshes them out in such a great way.
Yeah, for sure. Just another thing right here I wanted to point out: the rain dripping or falling into the coffee, and it makes the plip plip noise right here. The automatopoeia baked into the splat of the actual, like, coffee flipping up. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So when I
Yeah.
see that, that's like, that just, yeah, it gets me.
That might be the second most funny part of this entire issue right here. I love
Yeah.
that. So we're going to be jumping in our spaceship. We're going to be going over and trying to get some more information about who these 12 are. We're going to be unpacking this. This right here is pretty crazy because this is going to be our first look at the 12 in general. So you remember this cube right here with the child was probably locked up in,
Hmm.
being presented in this, like, white hall. There's a burnt half tree over here, which, I mean, like, again, this is going to be drenching in symbolism from every aspect of life, from different parts of religion, different religions. And so we're going to be mixing all this stuff together. There's no right answer here, but this is going to be our introduction to basically the 12, whoever is going to be leading this right now. Great scene right here with the stark white. And then immediately you're met with, like, an impossible amount of eyeballs dripping from the ceiling right here, talking about my children, my body. and we're going to see the 12 on full force right here. He's talking about a miracle that lies before us and how we've traveled so far to be together, you and I. And he unlocks the cube, and then there's the child inside, kind of amazed by the fact that the child's still here, still looks the same way that he's always seen in his eyes. And we get this amazing shot right here of who the 12 really is, talking about the dream that they're going to be like kind of fulfilling together. What an
Yeah.
amazing shot.
Yeah, this is the part of the issue that I spent the most time just going back to over and over and over, both trying to like gain an understanding for it, but also just like every page is so seeped in that symbology, like you were talking about. Like if you can go back one page, actually, it
Mm-hmm.
starts off with the scene with the tree there. Like first of all, like the 12 is very obvious. There's 12 disciples of Jesus, right? But you can see
Yep.
with the scene of the stairs here, it evokes the triangle shape, right? The Holy Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
There's like I said, the 12. There's just like so many things. There's the crown of thorns that the 12 is wearing too. Like,
Yeah, right here.
yeah, exactly. It is. I don't want to say, yeah, it's very present in regards to what they're trying to evoke here. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the approach that they're taking.
And he's got eyes all the way around his head too. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of symbolism with that as well. Yeah, it's really remarkable. As I was reading this book, I was trying to like make note of all these different references, like you were even alluding to as well. And there was not one single answer, which I think is really cool because this character is going to evolve over time, and I think I have a grasp on what this character could be, and I think it's supposed to be a melting pot of so many different things. But
I'm glad you
yeah,
do.
well, we'll go through. It's very loose, but we'll go through it. So we're arming up right now. We have our ship ready to go. Here's all those panels that we were working on previously, which is pretty cool. We're going to go after the disciples. Now it's a really elusive, well-known cult in this world, but there's not a lot of information on like where this cult is, and so we have an idea of who can help us, and we're going to explore that in the next issue right here. But holy crap, look at this world building, this visual world building right here with all these like repeating structures that just work together. Talk about impossible frameworks that just make an amazing scene right here. And you get this shooting smoke with our ship right here. Crazy, crazy detail here.
Dude, if you're not saying the name Ian Bertram in the same like levity that you would with like Jeff Darrow and with Mobius, then
Mm-hmm.
you really need to crack open this issue and take a look at this page in particularly because like yeah, like it's crazy. It's absolutely insane the amount of detail that he puts in this. That's not like taxing on the eyes either. Like you want to view everything.
And shout out to Matt Hollingsworth. The
Oh, good
colors,
call.
man, the colors in this page. I mean, like you were saying, it's not taxing on the eyes. I don't think it's not taxing on the eyes as well because the color scheme on here is just very, very. It's very pleasant. Like this is a very it's not utopian looking, but the color palette and how nice things are make it look like that. And we're going to see a slow progression of the chaos throughout these issues. But like this is a beautiful page. Like this
Mhm.
world looks fun to be in from this angle. When you get down below, it's real bad in the gutters, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And in the top corner there, we also see a little bit of Hassan as well, again, with the
Oh yeah,
dissipating cubes. Like we get that in the very beginning of each issue, we get that at the very end, and it's such a great
that's
way
true.
to finish out the narrative as well here. So with a story of a
Yeah.
boy who became a weapon and a man without a past who tried to save him. Like,
Yep.
yeah, that'll get you its hooks in you.
Yep. This last page here, this is one of those knives that Darcy just likes to shove right underneath that one rib, right at the last page right here, where we see Jelly kind of talking, looking up at Max, looking up at Selena. They're on this mission that they deem worthy, right? Somebody's talking to them. The path towards salvation will not come easy, but your sacrifice has been great, and so shall be your reward. And we have this cloaked figure coming up from behind him, walking next to him, talking about the sacrifice, basically, of his son, I would suppose, right? Him,
Mhm.
him getting taken out or sacrificing himself, talking about his great reward, which is the bishop's. That's the bishop's Kool-Aid, man. All in Little Bird. That's what he's been talking about. Is you have to give up the proper sacrifice to be properly rewarded. That's his freaking mission,
Yep.
and his reward is going to be in heaven. And here's our just eerie ass viewpoint here of the bishop himself. Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Letter pages, man. I really feel
Oh,
like I really
yeah.
feel like that was a complete missed opportunity to not be a part of history here. and gotten some kind of a letter in the back of this book.
No
Because I don't
kidding.
know if many people took advantage of it. We're going to see in the subsequent issues coming up. All right, we wrapped up issue number 1. Let's take a look at number 2 right here. First off, another great cover right there as well, featuring Selena, the designer Chen Selena.
Yeah, really
Really
great
nice.
composition there. I love the pose that Ian chose.
And we talked in Little Bird about these tentacles. This right here, we didn't know what that was in Little Bird. It still exists here, and I think it's obviously related to Max, but maybe it's just like the technology of the world or something like that. I don't know. I don't think that it's his tentacles coming in, but it evokes that imagery. It's unusual.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Either way, it's if it is related to Max, it's also Max kind of like cradling, supporting, or maybe even trying to like get to her at some point. Who knows? But
Hmm.
we're going to dive into issue number 2 right here. First off, this opening sequence right here, another memory of Max's. We're going to go see Naomi, Max's, I suppose, ex-wife at this time, showcasing some of Hassan's letter work as well. In the previous last box, I believe it was, the box, the cubes were dissolving to the bottom right. Now they're reassembling to the top left. Kind of pulls you in, pulls you back, or pulls you out, pulls you back in. Really cool. Exploring this dream ship shore wreckage right here. Max sitting with his bottle of booze like he often does. Wife Naomi over his shoulder, wondering how he could sit here and watch these horrible events take place. Talking about how it gets easier and does anybody ever make it ashore? His answer is no. The slow progression of the light inside of here as the fire dies in the background. Holy crap, man. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Hollingsworth on that here for the color work and the darkening tone, the darkening panels. Really great work.
Oh, man. And if we don't know as a reader, we don't know exactly what's going on. What are these ships? What is going on? Well, we see another one coming through right now, coming over the ocean, breaking through the waves, trying to make it to shore. This mysterious vertical laser beams coming from the sky, completely just firing at random, it seems. And then eventually there's just too many of them for this boat to dodge, right? And we get to see the horror in Naomi's face and the sad inevitability in Max's face, I guess. And then
Yeah.
just the ship exploding right here. And then you get to see just how many times this has happened with all these other ships and the wreckage from them that has washed up on shore. What a great shot right here between these two.
Yeah, a lot of different themes and tones you can just put within the first couple pages here with like the very clear analogy to like immigration or lack thereof, and then the isolation too for like, basically being trapped both in and from leaving. So
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and we don't get a whole lot of explanation about why this exists. There's obviously a lot of tones of maybe kind of racism in a way, but like we have this hatred towards mods in general, and those are just people who have modified their bodies in certain ways, or people who are different, right? There's clearly a hatred towards those people throughout this book, but this is definitely some kind of like immigration prevention type of a thing right here, which is it's not explained. It's way over the top and it's just brutal to see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it
yep,
boils down to a quote unquote lack of purity amongst the eyes of the
sure.
church. Yeah.
Again, blending of theologies and ideologies and everything inside here.
Yeah,
Really
for sure.
interesting stuff. So we're over in Naomi's house right here. We have Max kind of sitting down. We're going to explore some of their relationships some more, but essentially, for some backstory, Max abandoned his wife and daughter some time ago. We're going to get to some of those pages right here, but you know, he's saying how much he wanted to come by before. He's kind of missed him. It's been more difficult with the more time that has passed. What a true statement there. He says, "I wanted to come sooner, but with more time, but the more time that went by, the more difficult it became." Like, how many times in your life have you wanted to do something, you didn't do it when it was the most proper time to do it, and then you felt guilty the second day, the third day, the fourth day, and then by the fifth day you forgot about it. But every once in
Yeah,
a while you think about that moment. I mean, how
exactly.
real is that scene right there?
Yeah, and the body language on the characters too, you could see the level of difficulty that both of them are going through just having this conversation as well.
Yeah, he's kind of relaxed, nonchalant in a way, and she's just like mad, sad, disappointed, scared. I don't know, all at the same time. It's really interesting right here. But
Yeah.
you know, she's talking. He's there for some information. He's not there because he misses his family, which is why he should be there. And she recognizes that fact right there. Talking about, don't. don't try to convince me that you're here because you don't need something. You're here because you want something. Don't make it because of your family.
Hmm.
Referencing their daughter, Alina, I think is how you pronounce that name.
Yeah.
So he wants to know some more information. She's done some research on the 12 in a previous life. She did some reporting work and whatnot on them. And so that's what he's looking for right there. She's, kind of trying to throw him off the scent a little bit. They're a harmless group of wayward lunatics in a way, but I know exactly where you can find them under one condition. And that condition is that, you'll never come back here again and pretend like, you cared about us to begin with. And so he definitely takes her up on that right there because he's a coward and he's done this before. He's used to walking away from this house back in that spaceship and taking off. Great, great scene right here of all these different little spaceships, the clouds, the city, the landscape. Amazing panel right there.
Yeah, definitely.
This next part over here is really interesting to me, and it's something I still need to unpack some more. After this conversation happens, Naomi actually goes back into the house and goes into this closet. The closet is where their daughter is staying right now. And she's basically asking, who was that? And the mother replies, someone I was trying to help, but not everyone can be saved. And so I don't know why Max didn't ask about her. Maybe because he was warned not to begin with from Naomi, and he's kind of abandoned them already, so he feels that betrayal inside of him. But she's grown up essentially without knowing exactly who this person was or who her father was, and it's kind of a really bad situation that they're in right now.
Yeah, for sure. And it feels like we were dropped in very mid conversation between Max and his
That's true.
ex-wife. So yeah, so you could tell that there was something that was unsaid there that was I don't know, left for interpretation for the reader.
Yeah. Shout out to the little bunny right here. We're going to see more of that thing throughout this entire series, which is great. We actually have a location now of the 12 and where we're going to be going. Great, great, like cockpit scene right here inside their ship, talking back to Jelly. I know exactly where we're going to be going right now. We saw what happened to Jelly at the end of that issue. So they're on their way right now to go to the 12, and we get to see Naomi and Alina over here as she's watching this mysterious person kind of fly away. This face right here, it almost invokes that like she knows that was somebody special taking off right now.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
could tell
exactly, but I don't
she
exactly know.
knows something more. She like there's
Right.
something there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of emotion inside that face, and too much emotion for somebody to not have realized something or have some suspicion about something. Great shot with the mom, kind of looking over this as well.
Hmm.
Temple of the 12, man. This is going to be a crazy scene right here. We see this sculpture again, that tree, that partial tree that we saw when we first got introduced to the 12. Jax's sculpture that he was building, that Jelly was saying, "Oh, I never took the time to, tell him how much I liked his sculptures." Very reminiscent of that right there. Falling
Hmm.
star, wormwood, all kinds of stuff. Again, just drenched in themes. All the eyes and everything that we've seen before. They're infiltrating the ranks right now. They're taking over some costumes and whatnot. Here's our tell right here with our boots and tentacles and stuff. They're joining the masses, going down deep into the earth where it smells, it's disgusting, it's ancient, it's whatever it is, and it's unsettling too. So, I mean, like to me, the 12 kind of represents maybe the oldest of mythology, maybe in like the Jedi world, we have like the gray Jedis, you know what I mean, that are more in tune with the Force, not in a positive or a negative way, but like in a raw, natural way. And I feel like there's a little bit of that going on inside with the 12. And some of the disciples here maybe have gone too far, maybe have not, maybe have fallen off the path a little bit. Not entirely sure. It's going to get real trippy here in a few minutes, though.
Yeah, it's definitely you could tell that it's like an offshoot. It's basically religious extremism though.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And they're holding these like meetings down below in this like abyss. And again, this we're going to be talking a little bit about what the heck is actually going on, what all this stuff means here very soon. Reciting again, third of the rivers and the springs of all water came death in the name of the star. And before he can actually finish his moment right there, there's going to be some collapse, right? Some kind of stuff falling down, taking everybody out. But this whole speech right here is sparking a memory for Max. And you can see that look in his eyes, like, oh my God, like I'm starting to put pieces together. I'm heading in the right direction to try to get some answers. Is that what
Hmm.
you took away from that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like I mean, with that repeating again, the repeating motif, like he had the memory where that phrase was spoken. Now he's hearing it very real in the real world. Like I would have an oh crap moment myself if I heard that again too. So
For sure.
yeah,
Especially from a dude that looks like that.
yeah, exactly.
Very cool. I don't know why this world collapses. This scene collapses down right now. It might be the combination of powers with Max being here. It might be coincidence. It might be something. It might be the 12, whoever that is pulling Max into this dream world. We're going to see this happen right here, but I don't quite have an explanation as to why this is falling apart right now and why all these different disciples are expendable. But we're going to keep pushing through right there as Max confidently walks through all this chaos and decides to kind of go towards this power source. So something is pulling towards him, something primitive. It says right there, and he's building a memory, as he says inside of here. What a shot right here as Max kind of falls into the depths. He goes into this dreaming world, as evidenced by like this curtain of black. So you see all this debris everywhere, and Max is walking towards it. He kind of sees it. He puts a tentacle in it, which is really interesting. He walks through it. It's like a gateway to this dreaming world in a way. And there's going to be different iterations of this dreaming world as we go through. And we've seen these dreaming worlds or versions of them in Little Bird during the resurrection phases.
Hmm.
So the idea of these worlds existing is not new, but it's something that he continues to play with and evolve. And I wonder if it's all connected, and I wonder if we're ever going to know. And I don't know if I care if we ever know, because it's just a cool concept to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it's one of those things like where I feel like it's more important to leave certain things open to interpretation, right? Because there could
Right.
be a multitude of answers here. But man, I love this page here and how we go right back to that same scene that we had in issue number one. Granted,
Mm-hmm.
the tree is grown and majestic and everything is like lush here as opposed to the version that we saw previously where the tree was burnt, whittled, and like,
Yeah.
petrified basically.
Great usage of all the cubes and everything too. Hassan doing that replication as well. Great vertical panel, man. It's just or a whole page panel right here. Really remarkable stuff. And he's kind of walking up, just not knowing what exactly he's going to be getting into. But we have our continuation going forward. We're going to have Max's mind being played with a little bit. This is a dream world where memories could be altered, where it could use your memories and your traumas of your past against you. So what happens as soon as he gets in here? He sees a version of his wife who's younger, talking about we need to understand. Great progression of intimacy here, going from this wider shot of both of them, and it gets closer and closer and closer with a younger wife right here, and just impossible imagery, I would say. Like he's in a closet. They're in some kind of like hospital type of environment right here. He's getting flushed out into water. He's drowning again, like he was on the shore. Naomi's asking if he's all right. She's disconnected from his struggle in a way. I guess it's like the chaos of responsibility, perhaps. Whatever this topic of conversation is, and we're going to get to that here in a minute.
Well,
But
and it also like evokes the feelings of a real dream. Like we've all kind of experienced that thing where like you're dreaming
it's
and you
true.
turn a corner and all of a sudden you're in your room and now you're in France, right? Looking at the Eiffel Tower or something like that. So
Yeah,
it kind of plays on those real themes as well.
right, and you can't walk because you're trudging along in mud or something like that. That's a
Yes,
common. That's a
exactly.
common one. Max struggling against whatever this is. Naomi talking about please come back to us. Eventually, a passing out kind of a moment right here, kind of slipping into the inevitability there, and he wakes up in a very familiar situation, I suppose, for Max and someone of his trade, but falling out of Yoru's body with Selena right here in the middle of gunfire with just everybody right now. We got members of the resistance. We got members of the disciple of 12. We have this complete chaos scene right here. And again, that statue we saw earlier, kind of on fire, I suppose, in the
Hmm.
background, where these factions are warring over this resource, territory, whatever it might be. Just great transition from this dream world into this pure chaos right here.
Yeah, yeah, they did a great job of like pulling you back into the real world that way. And again, I love how they keep pulling Yoru back in to play that part. So he's just
Yeah.
kind of like the perfect character.
Yeah, for sure. Now, there's some tricks up their sleeves a little bit as we're going to see going forward, but we have this child being carried away right now with that same circular cube, mental prison, mental block thing that we've seen before. Here it is right here. Max trying to get a hold of them, being overcome by the waves and waves of people around them. Everyone's shooting each other and everything. Really heroic moments right here for most characters as Max is doing his thing, Yoru's doing his thing, throwing Selena up ahead so she can kind of get around this massive pile of just chaos and bodies and everything.
Yeah, I love that scene, man. Like
Such a good
the
moment.
essentially the fastball special, right, between Designer Chen and Yoru.
So good. And I love that close up of the eyes too. He does that a lot with a lot of characters, but it's really, really weird when he does it with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Really cool. And what I also like about here is this one guy says, by the eyes of 12, they see this monster, this beast, you know what I mean? And we see him right here getting kind of piled on, and then he just flips out, ripping everybody apart. I mean, great moment here, and then great moment here with Selena when Max runs up there and he realizes, no, dude, she can hold her own. She's got a blade and she is surrounded. She's shin deep, knee deep in bodies and blood over here. Crazy.
Yeah.
So we presumably have our child. We have a ship now. We have our child. Yoru's doing his thing over here. We're going to be getting the hell out of here in this moment, but not without some kind of a sacrifice right here. We have Yoru. Shout out to Stu. He wanted to make sure we shouted him out. His favorite character. What a dramatic scene right here as well. To his kind of ultimate sacrifice with after that fastball special, making sure Max got on board, making sure the child was secure. He gets taken out by all these different disciples and whatnot, by Torch, nonetheless.
Yeah, beautiful moment of solidarity there as he just kind of accepts his fate.
Exactly. And, execution by fire is a pretty common thing in this universe, apparently. We've seen it at least a few different times so far, and I think a couple times in Little Bird.
No kidding,
Good,
yeah.
good stuff. So we're going to continue on. We now have our child in hand, and so Max is trying to find a way to unlock this kid. I'm blocking this for a reason, but we're trying to trying to get some answers right now. She doesn't exactly know that it's going to be a wise move to do such a thing, but he gets in there and unlocks it, only to find out that it was replaced by an impostor child with that very familiar 12 tattoo on his forehead and wiring and whatnot tied to one of the panels that expands outward, kind of like a detonation switch. So again, back to the design of this world in general. Crazy, crazy work right there. Selena saying it's not him, and ultimately them leaving them to jump out of the ship and watch it explode off into the distance right there.
Yeah, again, it's just like every moment of hope that anyone actually has is always just like dashed away from them at the very last moment.
Yeah. We get a great scene right here, kind of a meeting of the two juggernauts right now. We have the Bishop and the 12 meeting in this moment, maybe for a second time, whatever it might be, but 12 kind of commending Bishop as to his bravery to come down here to, I don't know, to maybe to sink himself low enough to come seek our counsel or our assistance or whatever it might be. But they both want the same thing at the end of the day, which I think is really, really interesting. He may be leaving saying, God bless the 12, pulling a pig to slaughter in front of him. There's so many great things happening in there. What a great scene with these two.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess the original agreement, I suppose, was that the 12 was going to bring the angel, which is the child in this case, over to the bishop. And there's some kind of prophecy being named inside of here as well. The prophecy means a lot to both of these guys. They have two different intentions with it, but really, really brutal scene here with the pig, and then he crunches them, and you get to see that splatter right towards the bishop, and you see it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really great. And then, of course, you have this super dark, disgusting, eerie moment. Matt pulling out miracles again on this next page with Max and Selena going back over to Naomi's house right here. And the inevitable outcome is that Naomi was actually taken out after she gave Max the information that he needed to try to get the child and whatnot. But beautiful, beautiful scene work over here.
Yeah, again, we see more of the cowardice, I guess you could say, of Max, as he couldn't even bring himself to go to the house itself. He lets Designer Chen go.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that either. That's great. He's kind of sulking in the meadows, right? That's really great too.
Yeah.
We saw the bird earlier inside the house with Naomi and Max. The bird is now laying on the ground, which is never a good thing for a flight for a flight animal.
Yes.
Selena coming out right there, basically alluding to the fact that Naomi was killed, and this bird that we saw has its head completely ripped off, and relating back to the previous conversation that started this, how it never gets easier. And yeah, just a really, really shocking ending to this second chapter right here.
Yeah.
Great artwork right there. A lot of the originals were sold on Felix. So incredible work by Ian and team on issue number 2. All right, time to check out issue number 3. Holy crap, what a cover. Right there, man.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Like, we see this takes up way more of the space than any other character has in any previous issue.
Whew. Like I said, the original art does exist for this, and I forget the dimensions, but it's extra size. I don't think it was 11 by 17. I think it was even bigger than that, like 14 by 22 or something crazy. I don't know,
Yeah.
man, but that's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, I don't know how you could even attempt to draw something like that in just regular size. That like you need space to fill in the details.
And pre-planning too. Like I don't exactly know how you achieve this layering. I don't know. We got to get Ian back, or I got to shoot him some questions, man. It's
Yeah,
incredible stuff.
exactly.
So if you remember in the previous issue, we went back to Naomi. Naomi was actually found dead. There's only a certain amount of people who knew Max was going to go to Naomi, right? And 2 of them were in the same ship together at the end of that issue. The other one was Jelly right here. So we're actually going to have some flashbacks right here of Jelly working, or of Max actually working in the junkyard for Jelly and whatnot. And so we're kind of setting up the relationship again with him, bringing Jelly back into the forefront. Here's that bunny that we saw earlier. This is kind of a birthday present for his daughter that we're going to be seeing here in subsequent issues. But the bunny does play an important role going forward. But we have Jelly with this just disgusting environment that he's living in right now. He's fed up with himself as well. He sacrificed his son. He actually kind of potentially sells out his wife as well, Max's wife, and to play her part in this grand scheme that we're going to be seeing here later. Going back to work right here and seeing Max kind of like hidden in the shadows. Again, shout out to potentially Matt for putting this eerie scene together right here. What'd you think?
Yeah, it's great, man. You could feel like the remorse and the self-loathing from that character, and
Yeah.
like you said, like the eeriness, right? Like of just the waiting Max, because like you could tell he's a man on a mission at this point.
Yeah. And he almost has like some kind of a inevitable look to him as well. Like he feels like his time is limited,
Oh yeah, for sure.
which is interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah. Max recollecting on the fact how he kind of like walked away and abandoned his family. Jelly wondering what Max is doing here. Quickly, the conversation escalates to, you sold her out. You sold me out. You're the one who kind of is responsible for the loss of my wife, and getting me engaged in this entire thing to begin with. And again, Haas's lettering in here, there's nothing extraordinary going on besides like the loudness of it. Like that's the point of this whole page for me. It's the chaos of the boundaries, of the borders, breaking through panels and stuff, and it's just the loudness of it and the emphasis on like liar with the dramatic thunk across his face with the bars. I mean, again, the lettering is just amazing in this book.
Yeah, well, and you can even see like where's the kid? Where's the kid? I don't know. Like it's still very traditional comic book lettering, but liar is like very chaotic and very just like almost like
Different fonts.
slapped on there. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Great work here. And then, Max put in a position to, get revenge on him, recollecting on his wife, come back to us, we need you, things like that. Jelly, kind of realizing he's going to be essentially killed, puts the final stake in his heart, telling her that ultimately he kills her, through his actions, through his abandonment, through his behavior, things like that, which is the final straw right there. Crazy, crazy shot.
Yeah, for sure. He's not terribly wrong though. Not to
He's
say
not.
that he's a good guy, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, Max is an interesting character. I mean, there's definitely an arc to him, but he is a scumbag. But he does have redemption qualities in him. Clearly, we
Yes,
saw it in Little Bird, and we'll see it throughout this book. But that
exactly.
doesn't mean that he's not a troubled, poisoned man to begin with.
Yes.
Very cool. This part here is going to be something that's it's very interesting to unpack. We're going to see like the power that everyone's been fighting over and what can be done with that power. It's going to be interesting. We have Max walking away from the scene right now. we have this disciple of the 12 amongst the crowd walking around, right? I guess he's just right over here. And he's kneeling down right now with this like power. And what we're going to see inside here is he's drawing this power from within, presumably, but he's got his fingers buried into the ground. So, keep an eye onto that. Talking about the blood of the 12 runs through the whole earth. Again, there's that cube that we saw before. Max and Selena kind of catching up. We have this cube effect that we've seen many, many times, a deterioration of the people into cubes. And we have basically the expansion of this cube taking up a whole city block. And as this is happening, we have Max and Selena over here. And Selena, she's kind of letting on to like what she knows. And she says, he's done it. My God, he's done it. And so we don't quite know what we're getting into right here, but what a shocking just like moment that kind of changes things visually, and it adds that threat in issue number 3 that we didn't have existing in the first 2.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the way that they use the symbology. Again, a lot of religious metaphors here, but kneeling, praying, and
Yep.
how that prayer manifests itself in this tragic way, I guess you would say.
Sure. Yeah, and it seems sacrificial at the same time. He's digging his fingers into the soil, grounding himself in a way.
Mhm.
So, remember that part right there. And she's shocked. Max doesn't know what the heck's going on right here. Jelly's still using his last breath right here. But the idea is we got to get the hell out of Dodge. This whatever this is, this expansion, this slow explosion, this disintegration into cube structures is advancing and taking out whatever it can touch. So of course we get that awesome boom right here up into the smoke with our ship. We're actually heading out right now. We get to see exactly how much territory this thing takes out. And we have Max kind of, questioning Selena a little bit as to like what she really knows. Like, how is she actually connected with this child? Why is she part of this mission to begin with? And we have a breakdown right here, basically saying, I told you he holds the key to our future and he wants more of the truth. And the truth is that her father, Designer Chen, the boy was his design, and he used to work for the government. He was betrayed. With a single thought, the boy can transform anything into energy, which is shocking right here. A person, a city, a universe, it's all the same to him. And the 12 are using him to wipe out any trace of the mods so he can build a new breed in his own image. So again, lots of things you can take away there.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have a little bit of understanding of what's at stake here. This kid is full of potential energy. He can change anything into energy. He can wipe out everything he wants to. So we have an idea of why people want him around, right? Going back to that purification thing that you talked about, building a new world, all of that stuff. And so Max is starting to understand a little bit here about maybe like what's his role in all of this. What can he sense? He's starting to put things together, and they're heading back to the source right now. The only place that really gave him any kind of answers, which was the Disciple of the 12's little church right here. Great shot of them descending down into that area. Again, this is all war torn right now, but they're plummeting right back down to where they started inside the previous issue.
Well, you can see the devastation that's happened here too, because one of the things that I was wondering as I was reading through all of the issues is, at what point did Yoru take him, and how much of the destruction of that area that the 12 were in was that his dream, and how much was it reality? Well, this answers that question to show, the destruction of that place was absolutely part of their reality.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. When he drowns in that dream world and wakes back up in the chaos, it's very much real. And
Yep.
yeah, exactly. It does make you sad about, there's potentially places like this all over the world, because apparently there's no one around to clean these kinds of things up and, do proper burials and whatnot. So that's
Yeah, I guess so, right?
So he goes back to that familiar cliff that we saw previously, where the guy was kind of preaching about the falling star and wormwood and whatnot. And now he's got like a little bit more purposeful with his actions right here. He kind of knows what to expect. He takes this plunge almost willingly right there, and they have a conversation about him being a tractor. I'm here for you, and he's making this plunge more voluntarily or with intention at this time. And he's talking about how he was made for this, and we get to see more about what that actually means. Going back here, popping back up again with a little bit more confidence, using these cubes that we've seen previously over here. chocked full of memories, right? So Sarge, this is probably Jelly's arms, right?
Yeah.
We have like the foliage. I think there's like some flowers, or yeah, the flowers right here from where Naomi's place.
Hmm.
You have to assume that all these are references to things in his past. And it even talks about that, how the 12 is using my memories against me as distractions, right? How could you? The child is coming, things like that. Really eerie scene right there. Doing the 12 doing whatever they can do to use his own memories against him. Really great moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looks like the arms that say that where the word balloon, the child is coming. It almost looks like the armor that the bishop wore
It
in
does.
Little Bird, rather than Precious Metal.
It does. Yeah. The white cloak is a little bit distracting, but yeah, for sure. That's definitely like the bracers and the gauntlets of that. Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, good call there.
Yeah. The other
Yeah.
thing I like about this too is that Max says, "I was built for this," and
Mhm.
then within the next page, he emerges from the water. There's a really beautiful thing between Little Bird and this that we haven't spoken about yet, which is that Little Bird, there was a lot of themes with fire, right? There was fire
For
in
sure.
every single issue, the resurrective property of the phoenix being fire. This is all about water. This is almost like the exact opposite of that. Max, early on in the issues, has dreams of his past where he was in the boat with his mother. There's a lot of
Yep.
drowning. He can't save the other child that's there, and every single thing with him emerging from the water is almost, again, it's, I don't know, it's a really cool play back to what we see in the future within Little Bird.
Yeah, and obviously there's lots of religious context around that with baptism and crossing rivers and being purified, and rivers being fortresses and things like that. So there's a lot of great symbolism that you can throw on here. And the great thing is in a book like this is it all works. You could you
Yes,
could you could throw whatever you want at this and it
yeah,
will all work.
yeah, good
I've yet
call.
to find something that's like, well, that breaks that theory. You know what I mean? Like it's just so well done.
Hmm.
Yeah. The team is Darcy and team are very well versed in what they're doing right here for sure. Great moment here. We're reliving a couple different moments. We have another disciple kneeling down, drawing that energy back up as we're, heading up the staircase. We're seeing the destruction up ahead as well. So we get to see that. And we get this dramatic page turn right here. Now, I hope the glare is not going to ruin
Dude,
it for you, but this was the money shot for the entire series, I think. There's one or two competing ones, but this one was the best thing I've seen in a long time in comics.
yeah, between me, you, and Stu particularly, I remember the moment, the day that this book came out, and we all texted each other the moment we got to this page, going,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, did you see the thing that I just saw?"
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
And so the 12 is welcoming the dreamer, Max, right here. And so again, it goes back to that theme of him being able to transverse through dreams and maybe not manipulate them, but revisit them and be a part of them. What you won't tell unless you get a magnifying glass is that the child is inside of his chest cavity right here. He's assimilated with the child, and we'll see that later. What I want to draw your attention to though is all of this stuff, whatever it might be, is going upward. And in previous pages, all these disciples are burying their fingers downward. So there's a connection being made, right? And
hmm,
we're gonna see why that's important as we go. Max exclaiming that the boy is mine, right? Over there. And the disciples, contemplating and talking about how they're one right now. It's impossible. And Max really kind of coming into his own and really showing us what he meant by how he was made for this, using his powers to kind of break through any kind of barriers, physical or whatever, that the 12 has imposed on him to kind of separate the 12 from the child himself. And we're going to be seeing that play out through a couple different scenes right here as he's fighting through all this like psychological warfare. And we're looking around at what's happening up with the 12, and they're detonating their cubes and whatnot until the inevitable ripping of the child from the 12. But that was a lot of pages right there to like show an internal struggle, so to speak. So what do you think about all this?
yeah. There's a lot to unpack here because, like, we touch on all of the levels of importance within the story thus far as well. Like, we see the disciples of the 12, we see the 12 itself, and I think that we have a really good, like you had mentioned, it's really hard to see in that first page. We get a really good look at the merging between the 12 and the
Yeah.
boy right there as well. Um, but you see the struggle mentally and physically between Max, trying to achieve his goal here. But then you
Yep.
see all of the different parties that are associated with this. You see designer Chen. You see, we're
Yeah.
getting to spend time with his daughter, who he very clearly has a care for, just not in the way that I guess you would that she maybe needs in her life, or that they anticipated from Max.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a beautiful retelling as the 12 is basically laying out just how powerful they are for the combination between the 12 and the boy.
Yeah. And the implication here, unless it's if it's not completely obvious at this point, is that the 12 has disciples that he's basically setting up on top of the world, right? And they're burying their fingers into the ground so that when the 12 is merged with the child, who can turn anything into energy, he can siphon that power towards them. He can absorb them into their fingers and detonate themselves essentially and take out the world around them. And we'll see like to what end as we go through the story. And it's again, it's not, there's no direct answer for a lot of these things. It's all for interpretation. But yeah, we'll share our thoughts on this, but we'll be really excited to see what everyone's thoughts are for this. You mentioned his daughter sitting
Hmm.
here, kind of playing around, doing this stuff, and she's witnessing this explosion from this recent sacrifice down here, just expand towards her, and she's praying to God right now. She's a God fearing character. So is the family, the mom, and everybody. And
Hmm.
so she's watching this inevitable blast come towards her like a shockwave, just as he separates the child from the 12, stopping basically that whole expansion inches from her face is what we're suggesting right here with these panels.
Yeah, whether intended or not, he saved his daughter's life.
Yep. Yeah. Really, really, really great. Falling back into the water as he's pulled him out of the 12's chest in a way. He gets to save that child now. Remember, he couldn't save him before, drowning in the water. Now he's able to save that child. Dramatic shot right here with his daughter standing on the edge of this giant chasm that the blocks created as they're, I don't know, receding back potentially
Yeah,
right here. Oh my gosh, that's how close we got to losing our daughter right there.
exactly. Inches.
Yep. Really common theme right here, reaching into the darkness, trying to pull save somebody in the water among the ruins and everything. Coming up, meeting back with Selena now that we have the child.
Oh,
This is
man.
another one of those gut wrenching spots right here. Again, we were betrayed previously by Jelly. We were betrayed by ourself and our previous past. Now we're betrayed by Selena, the designer right here, stabbing him,
Yeah.
saying that she knows what makes him so damn special. Not giving the reader the answer to that, but basically trying to execute him and kicking him back into the dream world.
Yeah, again, every moment of hope is dashed away, and that's one of the things that we're going to learn with each and every issue here.
Yeah. Max admitting that there's something inside of him that he's recognizing, this
Hmm.
connection, this power set that he didn't know that he had this whole time. The child is kind of unlocking all that in him as well. Really great scene. And then as he drowns into the abyss, into the dream world, I would argue back to where the flowers were, where Naomi was and everything.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the dream of things that he'd never become. So the regrets or whatever it might be of a life that he abandoned early on or whatever that might mean. Really great.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful work.
Now this is going to be really this is going to reflect Little Bird a little bit right here. We did a lot of things inside of that book when it comes to cloning and whatnot. But essentially, we have Selena working back with the bishop, with our child hooked up to some kind of central power siphoning cloning mechanism right here. And we're talking about, how she played her role brilliantly and things like that, involving the tracker. He wasn't behind that initially, but it turned out to be a good thing. He served his purpose. This is explaining that backstory, what her role was this entire time, why she was involved. She's actually in cahoots with the bishop right here as a designer, potentially as her father used to be with the government in the past and things like that. And now they're cloning this child's ability to do whatever they need to do. And we get to see how brutal they are with with these techniques, talking about, hey, designer, we found a deformation. And he's talking about, bring it to me. He's smelling it, really eerie, and then dispose of it, things like that. Uh, Man, talk about calling back to Little Bird hard in this scene right here.
Yes, big time. Yeah, this is the first inkling of the connection of these two worlds here that we get outside of just Max as a character. This is starting to show us how close we are to the same events that we've already experienced in the future.
Yeah. Introduced to a new character right here. It's another bounty hunter. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. It's spelled like Sin AI, like Sinai, Sinai, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Do you have any other thoughts on that one?
No, that's exactly the way that I read it in my head as I was going through the pages here. So
Yeah,
I'm going to say that we're right.
we're gonna roll with it right there.
Yeah.
Mentioning that her shift has arrived. So the main takeaway, she was like a she was playing Max the entire time to get a hold of the child. She's working with the bishop right now. They have a cloning facility going on right now to clone this thing to do whatever, and we're gonna figure that out as we go. We have a new bounty hunter that's now being introduced, working along with Selena, which is great. And we're also talking about the resistance, I believe, in this previous panel over here, and that they found them and that they need to essentially take them out, if I'm not mistaken, because what they do is they actually send the flesh traders to the labor district, the flesh dealers. We're going to call them flesh traders here, coming up very soon,
Gotcha.
and so we're going to be seeing what that ends to over here. So what I like about this conversation right down here is she's talking about how the 12 saw complete annihilation for the mods, but nothing is truly destroyed, only transformed, alluding to that transformation of energy from those detonations previously, and how it's kind of like a puzzle. And we're gonna see more of that going forward. It's a little
Hmm.
bit unknown as to what is happening with these cubes at the moment, but it's going to be interesting to see how that builds out going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, talking about he's not playing with us; he's building something, and the bounty hunter here talking about the angel. Everyone refers to the child as being the angel. This is one of my favorite scenes right here because I interpreted it. I can interpret this scene two different ways, and I've asked Darcy about this, and he's given me an answer. But I love my interpretation as well. So Max's daughter in a treehouse hiding after watching that explosion come through, nearly missing her, nearly taking her out, having a tea
Hmm.
party with Bunny that we've seen before over here, talking about she's kind of consoling the bunny in a way. Mother, she'll be home soon. I'm sure of it. Sometimes she goes on missions when people are hurting. Maybe their homes were taken by cubes like ours, talking about the mission work that her mom used to do. And, she's even telling the bunny to have faith, right? Trust in God's plan. I know what you're thinking. You think he forgot about us, but it's not true. He always has a plan. I love the insecurity that she has, that she's putting on Bunny and then arguing against her own insecurity here. It's a great
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, it's definitely you could tell it's a child's coping mechanism who has gone through a very, very serious series of traumatic events here, trying to, I don't know, to rectify everything that's happened here and trying to just make sense of the world that she's now living in here. And yeah, like you said it perfectly, like putting that on the bunny where she's kind of taking on the parental role.
Yeah, that's an amazing, amazing part. Selena coming through, going back, trying to find the child or find Max's daughter, goes up into the treehouse, and this is destroyed. The whole place is destroyed. Cups are broken, everything's spilled, chairs are all over the place. So, what was I'm curious to know, what was your interpretation of what happened here when you first would maybe okay from the context of having read all the issues? How about that? But we don't need to get into the details of everything. But like, did you think there was a struggle here? Did you think she flipped out? Like, what do you think happened here at that kind of a level?
No, I don't think she flipped out. I don't think there was a struggle necessarily. Granted that the broken cups are kind of telling, right? There's
Right.
there's definitely something that could have happened. In that same vein though, it's a child's treehouse, so it's
Yeah.
probably not going to be kept in the best,
Sure.
form anyway. I didn't necessarily think she was taken right off the bat here, but with that
We'll
being
learn
said,
later. Right.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
learn later.
So what I love about this is even with the context we're going to have at the end of this story, and we'll call back to this moment here. The other the other way I like to look at the scene is maybe this conversation doesn't go well internally. You know what I mean? And maybe she has a moment of frustration. and she trashes the place and runs away. Like that's kind of how I interpreted it on the first read. But with the context that we have of reading the entire series, there's a moment where this is kind of we can infer more about this situation here. And I brought that up to Darcy, and he definitely did answer the question of the having the luxury of reading all 6 issues informs what happens here. But he enjoyed the interpretation of the first read analysis of this page, which was like that conversation internally didn't go well, and she flips out or something like that.
Gotcha.
Which I love that how you can have those kinds of debating thoughts.
Yeah, well, and it keeps the reader enticed, right? Because if you don't know the answer, or if there's multiple paths that you can take, that just makes it all the more enriching.
Well, that'll wrap up issue number 3. Let's head over to number 4 right now. All right, let's kick off issue number 4. Again, another striking covers, some of the best covers of the year. I would say just focusing on these single characters, but we have El, the Blade, focus on this one. A character we haven't seen since issue number 1, right?
Yeah, no, it felt like a character that probably wasn't going to pop up again, so it was kind of surprising to see her reemergence.
Again, the beauty of this world that they put together. They put together so many great, compelling, interesting characters. They bounce them in and out of the story, just broadening the scope of everything. Just a really, really great job. So in this issue, we're going to be exploring in the opening scenes right here, anyways, Max's youth. You can tell, as evidenced by the fact that he has 2 eyes and everything, and he's the commander of whatever ship or whatever he might be. And he's made a decision. We don't exactly know what that decision is until we fast forward right here. He's made a decision essentially to abandon his family, and we don't know 100% of the reason why. He does reflect on the fact that he never had a father, so he doesn't have that model for what he should be for his family. So maybe he's relying on that, or he's using that as an excuse to do the same thing to his family. Here's the introduction of Bunny right here, alluding to that it's a birthday present because she's blowing out some candles. Mom's really happy, swinging her around. What a happy family, and what a miserable, drenched in the rain guy over here. Great contrast.
Yeah, exactly.
So we leave Bunny. We don't even have the nerve, dude, to go into the house. We leave Bunny in the rain with the flowers that we've seen many, many times now as she's blowing out the candles, leaving Bunny out in the rain. Oh, what a jerk move right there, for sure.
Yeah, it's the origin story of the bunny, if you will, here.
Yeah.
And the lengths that Max will go to not take responsibility.
And I think that's gonna be important later at the very, very end of this issue. We'll unpack that a little bit too.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're in a moment now where Max was backstabbed, right? He was dumped into the dreaming world. Selena did that to him. We find out as the reader, she's been working with the bishop the whole time.
Yeah, very literally backstabbed.
Exactly. We wake up in this moment right here where we're in this, I don't know. It's so hard to tell. This is another version of the dream world. This is like the designer's dream world in a way, I think, because it's populated with all these designs. We're going to see this character, I think, in the 6th issue, if I'm not mistaken, and where this character comes from. But I'm going to need some help with these scenes coming up over here a little bit, because there's some really interesting things happening. Max is waking up. A world where dreams fueled a new revolution. He's talking about how time doesn't work the same way in this place. He doesn't know if it's night or day. He doesn't know how long he's been here, but he knows that he's with this guy right here. This is designer Chen. This is Selena's father. And we know that through a series of conversations that we're going to be seeing here very, very soon. But this guy right here, through whatever this technology is, or whatever his mod might be, or his ability, I don't know, he's able to probe people's minds and actually physically create the things that he finds in their memories. And we know that because he's in this chamber right here where he's got all this technology. He's got this box that's hooked to these wires. He's talking to Max about, I found something in the dream of yours, Max, and something very special. And he opens the box and there's the flowers, presumably that he leaves at the doorstep here, something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Very representative of the ex-wife.
Right. So he has this dream. He wakes up, and now the designer is able to manifest these artifacts from his dream. And of course, he doesn't like it. He spent a lot of his life trying to bury those memories and that guilt and that responsibility. So he's storming out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, he's giving us narration about what this world is. What is, I'm curious to know what your interpretation of this world is right here. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I mean, I have to assume, like you were saying, like he has the ability to basically manifest things from the people's dreams. I
Mm-hmm.
have to assume that this is his interpretation of being basically within that dream itself, or kind of like, I don't know, traversing the dream world. Because I
Yeah,
feel like maybe it's like a different interpretation for each person that navigates their way through it.
yeah. What I love is there's no right answer. You know what I mean?
Yes,
And
exactly.
I love that. The way I take this is that it might be some kind of artificial place that he's created. Maybe it's his own dream of some kind. It's a safe place for him to figure things out, to make things. Who knows? Whatever it is, it's a great conversation between the two of them talking about it. You know, he miscalculated his reaction to all this. He's talking about the child himself, how he needs to get the child back. And we realize right here through conversation that he's actually Chen's father. So this wasn't known until now, which is just great. Max is having that realization that not only that you're the father, but you made the kid this way too, and you did this to me. So this one page right here, we learn a whole lot, right? We
Yeah,
learn the relationship between designer Chen and Selena, the woman who backstabbed him and gave the child to the bishop previously. We learn that he made the kid that way and that he made Max this way. So he's really the anchor for like this entire universe or these characters that we've been introduced to so far. Crazy
e-
revelations here.
exactly. I was about to say the same exact thing. He is basically the piece of the puzzle that we've been missing this entire time.
Talking about, yeah, that's why I feel him inside of me, isn't it? Because they have a common designer in a way. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? There's a power that he's maybe imbued both of them with that creates some kind of a link to them. Yeah, really, really crazy. He's talking about how the kid is like far more devastating than anybody realizes. Things like that. So Max tries to uncover some more of the mystery behind like the designer's plans, what he's actually done, like what is Max's role in this entire world, what kind of prophecies he's supposed to fulfill, whatever it might be. And he's talking about like free will, essentially. And he's talking about being every bit of the unrelenting ocean, as you were the one who escaped it, things like that. So there's some kind of like a force that's been like preventing Max from coming to his potential, whatever it might be. But he's as powerful as that force. He needs to self-realize and figure things out. But he was also imbued with another power we're going to figure out as we go through, but he has to become the right person to enact that or to pursue that power. It's a very trippy self-reflection moment right here.
Well, and it's also another way that Darcy had done something really beautiful, which is that Max uses that same exact phrase for basically the excuse for why he was such a terrible person to his ex-wife and to his daughter. He's like, I'm
Right.
every bit the unrelenting ocean as I am the one who escaped it. Like basically saying like I'm too damaged to be the person you need me to be. Whereas
Yeah.
the designer now has flipped the script on him and said like, hey, like you got to look at this in a different way. Your weakness is truly your strength.
Yeah, and if you're not strong, you're just weak then, right? Like you have
Yeah,
to be both. You have to be strong and you have to be weak. And it's just the balance of those two forces that makes you useful, I guess, in the
exactly.
world and to yourself. So,
Hmm.
that's an interesting part. I love this moment here. He says goodbye for now and goodbye for now, Maxwell. He's basically sending him on the next part of the journey or letting him escape this world so he can continue his thing. Dude, what does that look like? What does that remind you of right
I
there?
mean, come on, yeah, that's yet again
That's the
another
eye.
eyeball.
There's the eye from Little Bird, man. It was in the
Yep,
dream world. It's the same exact thing. I love this scene. Max is back. This shadow is growing towards him, and we got our fan favorite Yoru back in
he's
action
back.
right here. Yep, I love that one
Yeah,
right here.
but
It's so good.
not only that, but we also get the reintroduction to another character from Little Bird here, which is the Axe. That we finally get to see a little bit of the backstory on the relationship that Max and the Axe had had. You know that was alluded to in Little Bird.
Yep, yep. Max Weaver getting introduced to the Axe, one of the leaders of the Resistance, who is one of the main characters in Little Bird, coming out of Yoru's body right there, talking about what does he want? would you rather stay here? You got to come. We got to get this kid, whatever. And we got some work to do. So you better get in here. And I love that he's well versed in this mode of transportation right now. He says, "Open up, sweetheart." It's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly. He's ready this time.
It's so cool. And if you're wondering like why Yoru is here to begin with, like my interpretation of that is like the designer could do anything. He can bring this character back, and it even says right here he's been working for the old man this whole time. So he's kind of like a spy against. He was using Yoru as a spy against his own daughter in a way, I think, to kind of keep tabs on everything.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure.
he also comes back because the designer just made it so. Really
Well,
cool.
and like you said, like the designer could manifest things from dreams. Well, if Yoru wasn't in one of Max's dreams, like come on, like that's crazy. Like
Or
he made
a
the
nightmare,
flowers.
especially. A
Yeah,
nightmare too.
exactly.
Yeah. I love that. I believe you met Yoru, so you know how this works. Yeah, I know how this works.
Yeah, yeah.
One of those humorous elements there. Every time he comes out of this dude, there's pure chaos everywhere. We just met the axe, and here he is, presumably, if you don't know, dead on the ground with his brain blown out right here.
Well, and
I
this
love
is
that.
another really great example of why it might be beneficial to read Little Bird before you read Precious Metal, even though it's a prequel. Because understanding what's about to happen within this scene, you kind of need that backstory in Little Bird to really identify
For
with
sure.
what's going on.
I agree with that. And if you don't, you'll learn real quick of what Axe's power set is in the next 3 panels right here, as we see very Wolverine-ish holes being filled with bone, brain matter, blood, and everything to the point where he's waking back up again. And you learn that they're in a battle right now between whoever, right? Disciples or whatever, whoever's against the resistance in this moment. Really cool. And we get some exposition here about who the resistance actually is. In the previous, what was it, issue 1 or whatever, we're getting interrogated at the docks. We're about to get ourselves killed by them, but we're realizing that they're teachers and they're whatever, right? They're farmers and whatnot.
Yeah,
It
they're
even
the
says right
people.
here, yeah, they're nurses and mechanics and school teachers. They're everybody, but they're not soldiers. In
Yeah,
other words, they're
exactly.
just people standing up for the right reasons. Really cool.
Yeah.
So we get Max getting a lay of the land from the axe right here, and we get this really dramatic pause right here as to what's been building this whole time. And we're talking about the cubes, right? We're
Yeah,
trying to
what
figure
a
that out.
page turn. Oh my god.
It's very reminiscent of that page in one of the issues earlier with the spaceship flying across with the whole cityscape, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Man,
absolutely.
I don't know what color that is, but it's some kind of neon pink, and it is brilliant. So man, Matt's doing a hell of a job there.
Yeah, yeah, we'll call it Precious Pink.
Precious pink, perfect. We get to see all the craters, the square craters everywhere, and all those cubes of energy are forming something, right? They're building something.
Yeah.
We don't quite know what it is. Beautiful shot. Yeah,
Yeah, another
again,
another perfect example here of, again, Ian being able to evoke all of those different artistic qualities that he has here, like, putting all the details in, but again, doing so in a way that's, like, just gorgeous to take in.
yeah, yep. Master in layering, I would say for sure of
Yeah,
different
exactly.
things. Project Wormwood is actually this project of the cloning the child. Bishop refers to that. Are we prepared to launch the phase 1 of Project Wormwood? Again, Selena, she's talking about all this right here. She's trying to break him. There's some kind of consciousness that they haven't quite figured out how to control yet, and we're referring again to the child as an angel, and we don't break an angel. We have to be more precious with it, and pun intended, with
Mhm.
all of that. And again, conversations about the mixture between faith and science and things like that. You continue to hold tightly to your precious science, let it go, make room for faith. And we see how far that gets him in Little Bird for sure.
Yeah.
We have our bounty hunter right here. Again, Selena's like ally, talking about they're just kind of teaming up. They're trying to find some of the rebellion, some of the resistance, and things like that as well. And they have some ideas on how to take care of that. But this next is another dramatic page turn right here, talking about kind of the fruits of their labor when it comes to the cloning. Like, how does it feel, designer? And we get to see this right here. How does it feel to witness a miracle? So I almost wanted a full page of this, man, or even a 2-page spread of this right here. I could just imagine, but I am certainly happy with what we got right there. What a turn.
Yeah, and I think he laid it out in the best way possible because to get just the lower panel doesn't really drive home the fact that this is an army of the child itself, right? Like you need that close up and you need that repeating character
That's true. Yeah,
over and
you
over
need
and
this.
over.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's true, man.
Yeah.
And of course, you couldn't put it in the middle because you'd the whole spine would ruin the effect. But yeah, original child, clone of the child, quality control in full effect right here, and we get to see exactly what this means. The implication here is that these clones have the same kind of power that the child has, and we've seen how destructive that could be in the wrong hands. And we see an army of it, and we see them trying to break through their consciousness to be able to control them however they want to.
Yeah,
Insane.
and you know the other funny thing I just realized here too is that when we're first introduced to the child here, the very first thing that we see is his eyes are very wide open, like they are just like pupils
Mm,
dilated, right? But they're very
yeah,
wide. In this, you can see that they're very timid, very closed, very controlled in a way
that's a good point.
that the church very definitely wants, because like he was just saying, he wants to break the angel.
Yeah, very sedated. Yep,
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, great shot right there of showing scale and everything.
Hmm.
So Max is working with the axe again. The axe knows where the child is being held at this moment because of whatever, because he needs to, and informants and whatnot. We see that same lettering that we saw on the docks, which is how I made the connection, honestly, as to who these characters were. Maybe that was the not correct interpretation, but that's definitely what I got from that. Same kind of vibrant clothing and whatnot, and just over the top characters. But they're under attack right now. So Selena is working with her bounty hunter. They know where the resistance is. They're sending the flesh traders, like we talked about before.
Yep.
Whew, flesh traders are quite the thing. I don't really know what to make of them. What we know is that there's some kind of a orb of some kind, some kind of a vessel that floats around. I don't know if there's guns involved. That there might be, but what we do know is there's some spear action, and we're going to see what happens later on. And there's these weird things controlling them, right? Like what?
Dude,
Look at this thing. It's
that
incredible what
again,
they
it's
are.
like one of those things you're only going to get from a book like this. Like it's
Yeah.
one of those impossible, I can't even say machinery, but biomechanical things that they've created for this world that make sense within it, doesn't make sense anywhere else.
Nope. And everything is so sickly and so gross in this world. And it just works so well. I'm loving it. Great action sequence here. Axe is just jumping around using his axe, just ripping things apart. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, not just a clever name.
Yeah, not just a clever name. He puts it to use, man, for sure. We get to see the power set of the flesh traders right here. They have these spears essentially where they spear you, and I assume they would just kind of pull you in, like we see right here, and they would rip you apart, use your flesh. Who knows, right? Sell your guts out. Who knows what's going on? But Axe actually gets speared right here too, and we get to see another very dramatic page turn. I love this moment because potentially Max doesn't quite understand the full power set of the axe. And he's trying to save him right here, right? He's shooting the
Hmm.
spear, he breaks it. He's like, "Welcome to the rebellion." And that face right there alone, and that shocking look while all the other spears impale him. Holy crap. What a moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could tell, like it felt like he was making a symbol of himself by really showcasing his abilities.
Yeah, man. Get the child, you can end this. That's a
Yeah,
crazy
he's
moment right
basically
there.
like holding everyone at bay by way of just using his powers. So yeah, awesome scene.
Yeah, it's incredible. Some reinforcement. He's dodging some spears and whatnot, doing whatever he can do against these seemingly impossible odds. All of a sudden, there's some explosions coming through. Some unknown reinforcements, unanticipated reinforcements are coming through. He's taking all the opportunity he can get to take advantage of that for sure, trying to escape into there, only to find out that we're met with the person who kind of started Max on this whole journey to begin with. This is El the Blade saying that I'm here to finish what you started, or I'm here to make you finish what you started.
Yeah.
Crazy revelation here. I did not see this coming at all, like we talked about before.
No, yeah, she basically came back on the scene to be like, "You screwed up, and now you have to pay the consequences."
Whew. And she's means business, as we're going to get into. Great progressions here. I mean, I really love this coming out of the shadows, more out of the shadows with the mask reveal, shocked look. I mean, it's just great visual storytelling, and then smacking him with that mask too.
Yeah,
Just such a
exactly.
great job. with that. You don't want anything to do with this kid. You couldn't be more wrong. Uh, you know, how much further? She's having a sidebar conversation with one of her cronies over here. Saying 60 seconds, 40 seconds, things like that. Load him in the pod, one of the flesh trader pods right here.
Oh, so gross.
It is gross. Max still trying to plead his case, right? This is much more bigger than you know. The assumption here is that like Max is all knowing and Elle doesn't know anything, right? He's saying this kid is capable of more things. You can't even begin to explain how wrong you are about this kid, things like that. What's great about this moment right here is that Max is not all knowing, right? Elle knows more than he does about this too. She says, "I'm sick, Weaver, and the kind of sick that doesn't get any better. You won't deny me the last chance to see my son one last time." And this is the moment where Max realizes that the child that everybody's been hunting down, that he was hired to find, is actually Elle's son, which is a real dramatic moment.
Yeah. Well, and that opens up one of the larger themes that it takes time to develop as the story goes on,
Yeah.
but the childhood trauma, right? Or the relationship between a parent and a child, because we have the designer and designer Chen, we have
Yep.
Elle, we have the child, we have Max, and we have Alina, all
Yep.
of which are very complicated, very nuanced relationships or lack thereof relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's fun to see how some are doing everything they can do to get back and some are doing everything they can do to forget.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
amazing.
Hmm.
I wonder if when Ian was doing this page, he's like, I need to do something up here. How about we do 10,000 squiggly lines that represent whatever technology is running this ship? It's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
exactly. Yeah, it's like the hodgepodge nature of the frustrators.
And then Matt looks at it. And he's like, oh, man. All right.
Yeah. All right. How many colors can we put on these
Time
things?
to get my neon pastels out or whatever and just start getting to work. That's awesome. So Revelation's bouncing back and forth, right? This
Yes.
is really great. So basically, the gig is this: we know that now that the child is Elle's, the child is Elle's kid, right? We only have a few more seconds before we're at our landing zone. We're going to kick Max into this pod and we're going to give him an ultimatum, right? My son in 24 hours, and then he whispers, "Alina, right? Or your daughter, or I deliver your daughter in pieces." So she has the bunny. That's our tell. The same bunny that we've seen over and over and over again in this moment right here.
Yeah, it's
Max
her
is,
way of kind of saying like I'm not bluffing.
yeah, exactly. Which then goes back to the previous issue when we saw that treehouse demolished. The implication there is that Elle found her. There was a struggle. They ripped her out of there, and the demolition of that treehouse was because of that incident right there, as confirmed by Darcy in a conversation. So that was a really great callback. Great setting up some Easter eggs that we're going to explore later. Really cool idea. This moment right here got me a little bit confused too. I had to take a lot of time to think about it. And Max clearly alluding to the fact that he has a daughter. She knows that he has a daughter. There's a relic from her and everything. I don't have a daughter. Screaming, pleading his case, as desperate as one could possibly be, right? Screaming at the
Hmm.
fact that I don't have a daughter as he's falling out of the spaceship in that flesh trader pod to wherever Elle decided to drop him. So
So
before I get into that, what is your interpretation, man? Do you have one? Let's talk. And if you don't, that's fine. Let's just talk about it.
yeah, no, and that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, let's unpack this because my interpretation of this was like a last ditch effort. I thought that this was him basically being, because he had removed himself from the lives of Naomi and Alina. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that this was his way of basically like his last ditch effort. Like, no, I don't have a daughter. Like a very blatant lie, very obvious lie, but just anything, right? Like the only thing that he could possibly say to maybe possibly convince her that she would be murdering an
Right.
innocent in that case. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, yeah, what was your interpretation and what's maybe the answer to this?
That's so on first read, that's how I interpreted it as well.
Okay.
The problem with that is we're not fooling anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
She knows he has a daughter. Here's her bunny. He even whispers her name. And and so if he's trying to convince Elle that he doesn't have a daughter, she knows he has a daughter.
Yeah, it's a
Right?
fool's errand.
It's futile, right?
Hmm.
When I asked Ian about or asked Darcy about this moment right here, and the way that he interprets this for me is that he spent so much of his life convincing himself he doesn't have a daughter because that helps ease the trauma that he's caused the family, that he's caused himself, the burden that he's put on himself. He's convinced himself over time he doesn't have a daughter. He doesn't even mention her when he talks to Naomi at the house. She brings her up.
Yeah.
And this entire story, he never references her as far as I'm aware. He's trying to he's exclaiming to the world, essentially, not to Elle, but to himself and the world, that he doesn't have a daughter because he's brainwashed himself. He's convinced himself over time. That's what's happening in this scene right here, which is great too.
Interesting. Yeah, it's basically like it's his reality as opposed to what's real.
And he's tumbling through whatever, right? So it's this chaos, it's this delusion, it's this dizziness, it's whatever, screaming, I don't have a daughter. He's in this tumbling, this like almost like a dryer kind of a thing, right? And he's exclaiming this to the world, trying to make it so, right? So anyway, really interesting point there. He lands in the flesh trader pod. He's escaping right now, and he realizes that he got dropped off pretty much in the front doorstep of the bishops, right? Of whatever this new movement is.
Ooh,
and they're resurrecting all their crosses. Crazy shot.
Yeah, it really evokes imagery from Little Bird specifically, where there were fields of crosses with people crucified on them. This looks like the genesis of something like that.
Oh man, I wonder if this is the same. That would be an interesting callback if this was like if there this is the exact shot of the crucifixion scene.
Yeah,
Crazy
exactly.
to see. Yeah, I love the technology, the little balloons hoisting up the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
Just
cool.
things that only exist within this world.
And it's almost like we're living in. It almost looks like we're living in one of the craters, but I think what's happening here is this cube is just taking up the skyline, giving us the illusion that we're below it, obviously, but we're not inside of a crater, right? Because there's nothing there, or maybe there is, because everything's destroyed, right? And then this is the remnant, so that might be the case, right? We're setting up, we're building in the areas that were demolished. That might be what's going on.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because the craters also then ate away the Earth itself, though, as we saw with Alina when she was on the precipice.
Yeah,
of...
that's true.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's hard to tell. Either way, I don't think there's a bad answer.
Yeah, great work, Hassan, doing that fade away again, as we've seen before. Awesome stuff. Man, crazy issue. That wraps up issue number 4. Let's head over to 5 next. All right, let's jump into issue number 5. Another striking cover right there featuring Yoru and all the different butterflies. Really cool shot right there. I like the color matching as well with the little banner across the bottom. Nice little ad right there too.
Yep, exactly.
But let's get into this. So we are going to touch base on the moment where Max met up with Naomi to get some information about where the 12 was. And so we're revisiting that moment. We saw that where their daughter was looking out into the distance. We have Naomi here. Go play in the tree fort. I'll make you some tea and call you when it's ready. So again, we're using this issue here to kind of help support what we've seen in the previous issues. Why was their daughter in the treehouse? Because she was instructed to. Mom's going to be left alone inside the house right here. And so again, I just love that we saw it, and now we're getting some context as to how it happened in the past. Really cool.
Yeah.
Great moment right here. Naomi goes back to the house. Again, this book does a really good job of showing us some like shocking moments. Like this is a big moment right here where the bishop is in the house with her, and he's talking about, I take it you delivered the instructions just as we agreed. Yes, your grace. I sent them to the temple of the 12, just as you said. And they're talking about how this is like a service to God and everything. He'll be okay. Will much harm come to him? And he replies with, no, sister, no harm will come to him. The implication here is that, the church is looking for the child. They're teaming up with the 12 to get them. Now that we know Max is looking for the kid as well, so let's get as many resources as we can to find this kid. So we need to put Max in that direction. She helps piece the clues together and tells Max where to find the kid. So everybody's looking for the kid at the same time, going to the 12 because the church wants him out of the 12's grasp, and maybe Max has the power to do so. So there's a lot of there's so many threads here to kind of put that all together, but it's incredible.
Well, and I love the emphasis again, the lettering by Hassan here. No harm will come to him. The him is bolded like that for a very specific reason here, because clearly the harm is coming to other individuals very quickly.
Yeah. I didn't quite know how to take that. over here because she's obviously has feelings for Max. Like she doesn't want Max to die or anything like that. And he's got that look. How many times have we talked about that look in Little Bird? You know, so good.
Yeah, exactly.
You see the bird right there. Again, it's impossible. We keep mentioning Little Bird, but it's impossible not to like try to make these loose connections and things like that. We see how it was taken out by the other bounty hunter right here.
Exactly.
And we have our Along Came a Butterfly title page here for issue number 5. So Selena, she didn't really fulfill her mission, right? The tracker has returned. You were supposed to dispose of him the moment the child was in our possession. Oh, man, a very striking shot right here. Obviously been whipped, disciplined, whatever you might say, and she's assumingly taken that voluntarily. You know what I mean? She's still looking up. She's kneeling down. Striking shot.
Yeah, exactly. Taking her penance, if you will.
Her penance, exactly. Yeah. Some more great design work here, showcasing lots of different moods and everything.
Yeah, the way that Ian incorporates crosses into the panel work, into to just the visual storytelling, really great job of all of that, and not just throwing crosses in, but like really incorporating it into the storytelling.
Right. Yep. She's kind of doubling down right now. I believe it was my father's doing. He's interfered for the last time. I'll see to it myself. You know, the bishop not really buying that at this moment. So the only way that Max could have come back is with help. And she's making the connection that her father stepped in. The father that, you know, betrayed or was betrayed by the government and went on exile and, you know, developed all these different characters, helped build the child, helped build Max, you know, lot of crazy stuff going on right there. There's a moment here where the bishop actually leaves Selena. You know, she's recovering from her penance, and one of these, you know, helpers, whatever it might be, is talking about the girl you've been searching for has been found in the labor district, and she says, "Prepare my ship." Dude, how about that cross in the shadow and the reflection there that we saw previously?
Walking in
Right
the
there.
path of it as well. Yeah,
Oh,
great.
yeah, I
Yes,
just noticed
so
that
cool.
on this flip through. Yeah, crazy. So the girl that we're talking about right here in the previous issues where Max was voluntarily jumping back in to save the child from the 12 and Selena was with them right before he was literally backstabbed by her, he makes her promise that she'll look after her child. You know, this is what her name is. Make sure to look after her. She's all I got left, essentially. And so that's the promise that she kind of makes Max at this moment. So that's who she's been looking for. She's been sending resources out there to do so. We catch back up with Max right here. He actually crash landed right, you know, on the front steps, essentially. This is a great moment because we're seeing Max really kind of come into his own, understand his power, his connection, and there's something drawing him towards the child. The child's being held, right, in this cloning factory, essentially. And this is a great shot right here of him like going up the staircase, and we're going to see more of that play out, but it's just like a trail of bodies leading to his destination. Great
Yeah,
shot.
I love this because as you turn the page here as well, you can see like 100% man on a mission. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure that you swore an oath. I'm sure that you swore to protect the child, but unless you're going to open that door for me, I'm going to need you to move. He is
Yep.
a person that is not going to let anything stand in his way at this point.
Yeah. He says, as God is my witness, I will die right through his head.
Yeah, no
He's not
patience
messing
for
around.
yeah.
There's no time for any villain monologues in this book. Nope.
Yeah.
We're taking you out. And before he even hits the ground, he's already walking past them to the next stage. Incredible.
Yep.
Um, what the hell is this? Who knows, right? It's some kind of incubation chamber. It's some kind of a stasis chamber, something that we've been using. I think we saw it in the previous page where we had that larger blowout of the Project Wormwood army. We're detached from it at this moment. He's still in there, right? The child. So we get to see this thing like not actively running at the moment, which is crazy. And again, he's saying that the old man made me a wayfinder. Very, very key point right there, to the
Mhm.
world's most deadly weapon. There's a connection between these two, and the designer's the key to that connection. Really crazy moment, man. So we're going to use some of our power sets that we've shown off before. This is nothing new. We've seen Max kind of penetrate these different membranes or whatnot. So he's once again he's connecting with the child, finding him again. He still has that sedated look that we talked about before. My God, what have they done to you? Still kind of talking about a memory. You know, we haven't heard a lot of that kind of talk recently, but you know, it's starting to creep back up over here. And we get Max leaving this area with the child right here. But that kind of move is anticipated by the bounty hunter that's working with Selena right now, as we're going to get this. He's kind of stalking him in the shadows, so to speak. So he's kind of, I don't know, he's out in the distance right now, lurking,
Yeah.
watching this moment happen right here. So he knows that Max has the kid in the scene.
Yeah, and as we've seen in previous issues too, that character works with brutal efficiency, so if he's on your path, like, it's not gonna be good news.
Yeah. Great contemplative moment right here. I could take the child to Old Man Chan, free the boy, free myself from what we'd become, or give him to his mother in exchange for my daughter. I mean, what do? Do you save the world or do you save your family? It's like the reality is if you do one, you're going to do the second one too, you know? So
Yeah.
it's such an impossible decision, right?
Yep, exactly.
This is a great moment, man. The bishop has got some he's got some resources now, and he's not afraid to flaunt them. And he's going into that Mos Eisley scene that we saw in the beginning and over in the labor district, basically walking up to the bartender, talking about, I want you to witness the beginning of this new empire and these holy laws. And is this like the Council of the Nicaea, the 47th Council of the Nicaea? I think that's what that is.
Mhm.
Which, like, if you look that up, that's going to take in a wormhole in on itself. That the fact that it's the 47th one. But this is a great moment where he's basically declaring that, you know, this is the new empire and there's new rules here, and that like mods are not welcome. So he's got some balls walking up into this place, basically destroying everybody. Great moment.
Yeah, it feels like this was definitely the, I don't know, the coming out party for the church themselves and showing off how powerful they've actually become. Like, this was that, we're gonna send a message moment.
Yep. And when he's met with resistance, people throwing drinks at him, people cussing him out, threatening him back. There's no need for such threats. I'm merely a messenger. As he walks out and tells his troops to just rush in there, and they start slaughtering people and dragging them out into the streets, executing them in front of everybody. So like he kind of gave them their chance, right? Like, here's your chance to repent. And if you don't, there's dire consequences. And he calls everybody a sinner. And it's
Well,
just
I mean,
crazy.
did you think that there was gonna be any other outcome, though? Like, I feel like even
For
if
sure.
anyone were to repent per se, like, I think the outcome would have been exactly the same.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Great moment. These characters right here, this like army, we'll see versions of them in Little Bird too, and I think they call them the Army of the 12. There's some interesting things, blending of resources, I think, and beings in there that I need to unpack still some more. You know, the bartender that we've seen earlier that was really, you know, standing his ground is now pleading for his life as he's being executed in the streets in front of everybody, being held at gunpoint. Incredible. And this is the moment where we realize the true vision of Project Wormwood. All these clones are everywhere and they're raining down this hellfire that we've seen on the shores over the ocean, taking out the boats and whatnot.
Mhm.
I don't think there's a
Exactly.
connection there, but you can't help but make that connection as the reader.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely evoking the same feelings, but it's just going to show, like, the level of power that they now have and that they're putting on display.
Yeah, man, such a great moment. I love that, just the blood splash across the top. You're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
guilty. Burn this place down from the pits which it spawned.
Yeah, let them
So
know
good.
this is America. Like,
This is
this is
America.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, this definitely has tones and feelings that are
Oh yeah,
very, evocative.
for sure. Mac's still contemplating his decisions in a way. You know, lots of self reflection. He has the child now, talking about the world in my calloused hands. Say the child that became a weapon. There's just so many great things to reflect on through here, and great imagery in the rain and everything. Trying to, you know, bring the child back. We have Yoru sneaking up behind him. You can see his like eyes or his scales or whatever that is, you know, peeking up from behind him. And we have designer Chen coming in here, kind of convincing Max that like, hey, listen, you could take this child to L and save your daughter, but then the world ends because the bishop's gone crazy and created Project Wormwood. Or you can bring me the child and I can potentially end this through my magical means and save the world, hence saving your daughter at the same time. And then you could figure out a way to save your daughter. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
interesting dilemma. He kind of falls into a decision here as they're walking through this area, seeing the devastation, this buzzing of flies as they're walking through the district right here, and
Yeah.
it's the pile of bodies left from the bishop's wake. Whew.
Yeah, that's the brutality on display is just it's intense. It's very
Yeah,
intense. Yeah.
it's incredible. Great moment here too. We have designer Chen opening a box of whatever this is. Who knows, right? It's some kind of medicine, some kind of a thing that taps into someone's psyche or ability or whatever. And he's pulling this out while Yoru's on guard and Max is, looking out the window. We have those dead flowers that we
Mhm.
saw maybe previously. Who knows, right? That's the imagery there that they're provoking. Really
Yeah.
great moment.
Well, and the things in the box are very reminiscent to the things that are on his face too. So I wonder if that's just like more of his ability, basically. I don't know.
Yeah, on
In
designer's
physical
face, you're
form.
saying? Yeah, all that
Exactly.
all
Yeah.
that crap. Yeah, you're right. Hmm. I don't know. I don't think we need to know. The imagery kind of speaks for itself in a way. He's placing one of those on top of the child. The child's got these like fingers poking through. I have a theory about what that is, and we'll see what that looks like later. But it's weird to see it
Yeah.
nonetheless. I imagine those things are articulating. You know what I mean? They're not just like floppy. And so I think it's so strange. But he's
Yeah.
talking about this part. It may be difficult to observe. So he places this thing on his head. He's controlling it with whatever these are, and he probably dips his hands right into it to get these gloves of these things.
Hmm.
It will consume his entire body, and it's kind of like when they're exorcising a demon right here. You know what I mean? We have this
Hmm.
weird thing in the background, and we have this chaos going on. Talking about how he's fighting it. What a crazy scene!
Yeah, yeah, it's absolutely insane because you don't understand, you don't fully comprehend exactly what's going on, but it's in the same way that Max, there's no way that he can fully comprehend what's going on. So it's kind of cool that we're kind of in the same shoes, basically.
Yeah, we get to see the power of whatever this ability is, and there's a resistance to it. He's fighting it, remember? So there's this red aura around him fighting whatever this scaly treatment is on here. Yoru's just kicking it with a butterfly in the background. There's some narration going on in the background about sacrifice and the dead and things like that, and how the dead turn away. And you can look into that for forever, I would imagine.
Hmm.
Designer not able to control whatever the resistance is to this entire thing. But before we can really finish what's happening over here, we get this ominous blood splatter and a butterfly flying away. Max's realization that he's actually hurting the child, and the designer Chen's true intentions are shown here as to he's trying to kill the child. He needs to end this chaos. He needs to stop this weapon from becoming a weapon. And he thinks he can do it through these means right here. Before anybody has time to react, we have a kick in of the door with our bounty hunter having found them because he trailed them this entire time. Any other interpretations of this whole scene right here that you might have?
No, the only question I had really, which I'm curious to know as to whether or not the designer understood that the church had already cloned the child. Because in killing the child at this point, sure, it
Yeah.
stops them from being able to continue to clone them, but the damage is kind of already done.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe the answer to that is if he kills a child, maybe he kills the source of further armies being built. He
I
knows the
mean,
kid's a
that's
problem. You know what I mean? So I think he's kind of blinded as well. Like I need this. This is my creation. I need to stop this thing, regardless of like how effective it is.
well, and I wonder if it's maybe just like his own, like maybe selfishly, it's his own atonement for what's happened because
Yeah,
he's the one who
exactly.
created it. So yeah,
Precisely. Yeah. I don't think because we're going to see what happens later in the book. I don't think he has the wherewithal to know that if he stops this kid, that it would be like a hive mind kind of a situation. Like if he stops this version, it would solve all the problems. But you know,
yeah.
I
Well,
think you're
as
right.
we
I
learn
like your
later on,
explanation the
that's
best. Yeah.
yeah, that's like clearly not the solution to the bigger problem here either.
Right.
So
This looks more personal for sure.
yeah.
Oh, poor poor Yoru. He dies a second time.
Dude, yeah, this guy, like, he just like nothing good happens for him.
No. Nope. He either rips people apart or he gets burned alive or whatever. This guy's been he's a tracker himself. He's been tracking Max down this entire time, interrupting whatever the ceremony is. Dude, smashing his eye against the wall, splatting it, and then it falls to the floor as his like shadow is walking forward. Unnecessary, but so nice to see.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
man.
visually, yeah, like, again, it calls back the brutality of this character, man, like, if he's going to do something, it's gonna send a message.
And it's not splat, it's sploot.
That's
Sploot. Like
just
you could feel that. You know what I mean? Oh.
yes, exactly.
So talking about Max being a hero, again, interrupting this whole like process right here of trying to kill the child. And then guess what? We're not going to see the conclusion of this for a couple pages because we have another story to tell. And I love how it jumps around, giving you a sense of scale of the story and what's happening all at the same time, because all these different branches of story merge at the perfect point towards the end. But I love how they cut away to a different scene here.
Yeah, they do a great job of, like, building you to a fever pitch only to, like, give you the best version of Whiplash, if you will, to the next, to the next part of the puzzle here, the next thing
Hmm.
that totally, like, you totally forgot were a part of the piece, but, yeah, getting back to Elle
Yeah,
and then Alina and seeing the ramifications of everything that's going on here, this is going to get deep and dark here real quick.
for sure. Elle sitting here in front of the fire with Alina, Max's daughter, talking about her own son. Right? I haven't. I heard he hasn't aged since I last saw him. That he can do all kinds of things with his mind, but I wonder will he remember his mom? Just like the desperation and the sadness of the time lost and the connection lost with their son. It's
Mhm.
really great. Alina trying to, she's a pure soul essentially. I'm sure he does. I'll always remember mine. It's crazy. It's just so great. I hope you're right. And then jumping to the point of this whole thing, I gave Max 24 hours to deliver my son, or I'm going to deliver you in pieces. Right? You seem like a good kid, but it's past time. No sense on dragging this out. Holding that blade over the fire, or just walking past it, or something like that. With another amazing dramatic shot right here of her being backstabbed by somebody who's very used to doing this at this point. We have
Yeah,
Selena showing up
it's
right
kinda her
here,
calling
saving the
card.
day. It is her calling card.
Yeah. Well, and
It
it's
is.
crazy too that Alina is the one reassuring Elle, and she probably doesn't comprehend exactly what's happening in this moment here too,
Yeah,
even though she's kidnapped,
yeah,
But yeah, she's the one telling her like, "Hey, I'm sure your son still remembers you." And then Elle just remorsefully having to come to the conclusion like, "I made a promise to myself and now I need to follow through with it."
yeah. This is just the world we live in.
Yep.
Great moment here. You'll die for this. I doubt it, but that's no concern of yours as she delivers the final blow right in front of the kid. It's all right. I
Yeah.
made a promise to your father. The promise that we talked about earlier, that no one's going to hurt you, and that psychotic look in her face. Everybody is disemboweled, cut in half, missing heads all the way around her, and nobody knew about it. They're all live here. They're having this conversation. She's so focused on what she needs to do that she didn't even know that she took out all the guards. It's
Yep,
crazy,
exactly.
man.
Yeah,
Great
efficient.
moment. Yeah, super efficient. Flashing back to our main scene right here. We have the child who's, man, he's in a bad way right now with whatever this is coming out of him, whatever that resistance is, mixed with whatever this, I don't know, treatment was from the designer. All this struggle inside of him being sedated and being used by the bishop. It's all taking its toll for sure. And we get our great epic battle sequence right here, which is going to last for a couple pages between Sinai and Max. And then he also goes over towards the designer and takes care of that problem right there because he's been a thorn in their side for so long as well. So what a way to go right there.
Oh my god, yeah, and what we've seen within the last couple pages here is kind of like the death of a generation, right? We've seen
Yeah.
the mother of the child pass away. We've seen the designer, the father of designer Chen pass away.
Mm-hmm.
The only person left within that puzzle now is Max.
Yep, for sure. The death of this character, somebody who made the child who he is in a way, it says brought the boy to life, and with him a surge of energy between us. So again, there's that connection between Max and the kid to begin with,
Hmm.
which is interesting. The bounty hunter going over to now that he's out of the way, there's no one left essentially to stop him from taking the child back to the bishop and Selena. But Max, he's been boosted with some power, and it's on full display there, showing a new ability. It's like some kind of a blast of some kind that sends this bounty hunter across town through buildings into some debris, which is pretty crazy. Which kind of broadens the scope a little bit for us, our viewpoint into like what's happening in the world. And Bishop is continuing his reign with his destruction with Project Wormwood. as all this stuff is going on. Great way to like introduce the reader into it's like a forest from the trees kind of a thing, right? We've been so narrowed down into this one room, but now we get to see the full scale of this invasion, so to speak, here.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it was like it's a really great way of bringing us from one story beat to the next here as he goes like just plowing through building after building. Like it's crazy. Like it's a great way of showing the power of Max and also
Yeah.
bringing us into like a completely different landscape.
And as you're reading this for the first time, if you're non-distracted while going through this, like your heart is racing and then it slows down a little bit and then it starts spiking again and you're almost at like a fever pitch. And issue 6 is where it just goes pedal to the floor the entire time. But we get to mourn the loss of the designer. Child and Max are here. They're talking about building a memory so far, or still. Remember the collection of cubes that's been building this entire time. It's a
Hmm.
puzzle. Something needs to happen there. Something's going to happen once it's completed, and potentially one of the pieces right here. The child actually touches the designer, which he actually. Hey guys, Nick here. So, not the designer. That is actually Elle, the child's mother, which makes this all the more tragic and insane. So, back to the show. Dissolves into one of those cubes, and you can see that kind of going back up into the air to assimilate with the other ones. You get to see the evolution of what's really happening to the child in this moment as he's becoming the 12 essentially, talking back to Max, who's the dreamer, and we see the slow progression of the dialogue as well. So there's really nothing unusual happening over here, but then all of a sudden you see that black with that red text that Hassan has established in previous issues to signify that the 12 is right here. And we have this final burst of like power into their final form, so to speak, right here, where we see the 12 and the child have fully merged into like one being. There's no way to like separate them at this point.
Yeah, exactly. They become the one gigantic angelic bloody kaiju.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that in the previous pages, all these fingers and whatnot that you see right here are probably just all these fingers that were trying to creep their way out of the kid. God, it's so weird to even say that, but like it's such a weird, gross way of handling it, but it works so well. I love it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Man, we are one. As if you didn't, as if we couldn't catch on to that. So cool.
Yeah, and I like how there's subtle differences between the 12 that we saw previously and the 12 that were being
Mm-hmm.
delivered now as well. Like the crown of thorns is missing here.
Yeah,
Obviously,
replaced by
much
whatever that
larger.
is. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously, like the narration, the things that he's saying here, do not fear me through the child's eyes. I watched as the future came to pass. Like you could tell, like there's a level of teamwork here at this point.
Yeah, and you don't quite know. Like it speaks of a prophecy in a way. Like it's almost as if the 12 has saw this happen. Like there's a moment with the bishop as well. What will be, or something like that. I think he says. So everybody seems like unsure, or they're on a mission to make something happen. But the 12's like sitting back and seeing like, no, it's going to happen because it's foretold and I've seen it. It's a
Hmm.
prophecy. So he's just kind of sitting back, letting things happen, and everybody else is scrambling to like fulfill their mission without that same kind of confidence that the 12 has. I think like that's the takeaway that I've gotten while reading the story, which is interesting. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's pretty cool. The cubes from this dissolve right here finishes the puzzle, so to speak. And I love this part right here. But what is it, designer? And it's a puzzle, and like all good puzzles, on the last page turn it says it wants to be solved. And so we finally get the completion of whatever the puzzle is that we've been building for the last 5 issues.
Yeah. What a great metaphor for the story itself, too.
Yeah, man, you can go in 100 different directions for this, and they all make sense.
Yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
was saying. There's no right answer, I don't think, for a lot of this, and we're going to do our best to explain what happens in this last issue because it gets real trippy in these pages right here for issue number 6. All right, let's dive into issue number 6 featuring the child right here. We have that final cube, I believe, that we talked about at the end of the last issue. And he's kind of very iconic pose, right? He's like levitating up like that on full display. I love that.
Yeah, that's
Great
awesome.
job.
And yeah, it's a great evoking of the thing that we've been talking about this entire time, the memory, right? That cube is the
Mm-hmm.
memory.
For sure. Maybe the waves and stuff. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of cool layers going on here. Classic fashion for the opening pages. We're doing a little bit of a time jump, going back in time. Selena as a child in this little hut right here, presumably around the time where her dad was working for the government, maybe. Here's that character I told you we were going to see before, that weird looking deer that we saw in the dream world where Designer was living with Max. That character told you that character was going to come back. Pretty cool. There's a interesting relationship between the two. I feel like she's striving for his affection, his attention, whatever, right? Father, are you busy? Of course, I'm busy, but what do you want? It's nothing. I just have a question. What makes him so special? So this is a time where we're seeing Max as a child hooked up to God knows whatever this is, right?
Hmm.
She's she's more concerned. She's wondering why he's paying him so much attention, I think. And he's snapping at him, right? What are you creating essentially? I'm creating an ending to this miserable world, a dream for our escape. But before we go, a parting gift, an end to an end, hope hidden in the belly of despair. And as you see here, he's pulling something out of the box, which we've kind of established is a methodology for him to realize a part of someone's dream, maybe,
Hmm.
whatever that is. We saw it with the flowers, and it's a cube, and we don't see it completely in this spot. We're going to get a better shot of it, but he's putting that cube inside of Max's head. What what's going on here, man?
What's going on is like totally open to interpretation here, but it's
Yeah,
very clearly showing us the linkage between Max and the child itself, right? This is
yeah.
this is what is driving the power manifestation, the
The
memories
link
being
between them.
triggered. Yes, exactly. This is the physical manifestation of that.
Yeah, what you, if you take it on face value, the designer's modifying Max in some way and creating some kind of an escape for the dream and giving Max a gift of a memory. And that gift is represented somehow in this cube, this knowledge or whatever that he's putting inside of his head. The point is you're not supposed to really know just yet what's going on. It's gonna reveal itself a little bit more throughout the issue and towards the end. But it's a really cool flashback moment.
Well, let me ask you this though, because if Mrs. Max in the past as a child and the memory is being, or the cube, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, is being implanted into him, that must mean that the child existed prior to this, right? Because the designer would have had to have created that child previous, right? Because the child is the weapon,
Yeah.
Max is the solution.
As far as the timeline goes, my interpretation of that is he's already been betrayed by the government and he's on it. He's exiled himself and he's more nihilistic now than ever. I think you and I talked about this before. This miserable world, all this stuff. I feel
Hmm.
like he's been betrayed. And so therefore he finds a vessel to create an end to an end.
Yeah, it's just an interesting thing, and I'm really glad in the previous issue that they made mention of the fact that the child hasn't aged a day. You know, while it was a shorter period of time for Elle and her memory of the child, but it
Mm-hmm.
really goes to show because obviously, if Max is a child now, he's a grown man with the story that we're dealing with, but the
Yeah,
child is still a child.
that's true. That's true. I wonder if his mod has something to do with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure. Going into the underbelly of the labor district or whatever this might be, some scavengers trying to, live through the next day. You get to see I don't know, the depths that the Project Wormwood will go to kind of eliminate everybody in this town going into the tunnel system now. They've eliminated all their threats up top. Now they're going into the sewers and into the gutters and everything else to try to eliminate whatever threats are hiding at the moment. They're pleading for their safety and whatnot. They won't bother anybody. And some great narration about um, the fate of the 12 renewed and everything like that, and the key to unlocking it was buried here in the past. There's just so many things going on before we get to
Yeah.
this real dramatic spot. But like, what'd you think about all this? Like, this is eerie as hell, man. I love that
Well,
scene.
first of all, let's talk about the fact that they what they could have done and what they chose to do.
Mm,
On the previous page here, when you look at the panels of darkness here, it's all
yeah.
done in hatchwork. Like there is,
Yep.
you see so many lines, right? So overlapping lines to develop that darkness here. That very
Yeah.
clearly could have just been gradient work. That could have been something that was done completely through color, but
Yeah.
they chose to do that by way of the artwork itself here. The amount of detail that goes into this and the amount of time that it must have taken just for these individual panels, really great work here. It really drives home what they're trying to do.
And not to get too much into the craft of it, but like you have to know how dense to do this at scale to know that it would reduce in a way that would make sense. You know,
Yes, exactly,
that's so
exactly.
crazy too. And Matt, with this, because you already established that these Project Worm would have these glowing eyes, these
Mhm,
ominous glowing eyes, like a predator almost. And you put this little bit of pink. That's hard to even tell on here, but it's clearly different. Like this area is clearly different from here. There's a little pink
mhm.
hue as he's floating through the tunnel. So many little cool choices like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oof, that's nuts. And then we get to see it on full display right here. This whole scene, this whole scene where they're about to get wiped out is interrupted by this hand falling through the you know the street level into the sewer and crushing whatever the Project Wormwood disciple was right here, essentially saving these people in the process. And holy crap, page turns. This whole series is a mastery in page turns, I think.
Dude, the imagery in this book is absolutely insane. Again, this is what makes it such a special story to be able to follow through with, because you just don't get anything like this from any other book. Like
You don't.
this is truly one of a kind.
This is the reason why this book has ruined me for a long time on modern comics, because it's like, you go to the shop every Wednesday and you're picking up your 12 to 15, 20 books, and it's like no one else is doing stuff like this. It's super rare and it's ruining things for me. It's really
Well,
kind of, it's really sad.
yeah, you see the potential for the medium, because
You do.
this is incredible.
This is what you could be doing. Exactly.
Yes.
Stuff like this. Well, we have our, in the previous issue, we saw the 12 and the child is merged into this gigantic kaiju, right? Who's essentially unstoppable. Well, what happens when that's going up against Project Wormwood, which is the clone army with the lasers? And it's incredible. And again, I think I'm right when I say, we're not going to make it. That's what Sarge is yelling. He's riding. I think I found him one time. Maybe I was wrong. I feel like he's like riding on the back or by the head or something like that of this monster.
Yeah, he must be right by the head, because in the top panel here you see the eyes. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So he's not confident, but he is. This monster is. What is to be Dreamer is already done. So like he's seen this work, whatever this is, or he just has so much faith that it's just going to work, right? It's actually incredible.
Hmm.
Speaking of world building, we have our bishop. We don't exactly know the power structure or the hierarchy within the system that the bishop works in, like that religious power set, right? And so we're actually getting these holographic images of all these different, not popes, but whatever they are, right? It's the whole council that he's reporting to, and they're all disappointed that like you're supposed to establish the holy city, not wipe it from existence, things like that. And he's trying to reconvince them that like, no, 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 we have the child, everything's under control, we're gaining our footing, everything is going to be okay. And they're basically saying like, you better, right, because you have an important part to play in this whole movement towards the mission, and they
Yeah.
evaporate.
Yeah,
And
and I feel like we've heard that story before from this character, albeit in the future in Little Bird
yeah,
too, where it's an impossible task here, but he's just like, no, 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 I have everything under control. Where very clearly things are a little bit falling apart.
right. I love that. Despite your transgressions, I suspect that if you are successful, America will be yet saved. God bless you, and God bless the mission. Great moment.
Yeah.
Bishop defeated and clearly angry, right? Fist up and things like that. Now he's more on the mission than ever, right? But he's also mixed emotion. He's afraid. He doesn't have the situation under control. He knows what's at stake right here. Our bounty hunter here confirms that with "you're frightened." He says, "No, I'm concerned that you won't keep your promise by giving me the child," which is why he was hired to begin with. And we get to see this ancillary army that we've established in the previous pages when Bishop was enacting Project Wormwood and purifying the streets, so to speak. This is a really great a shot of just again scale of what his army really is, and I'm loving that right there.
Yeah. And I love that it also kind of spells out the character Sinai, I believe his name was,
Mm-hmm.
his motivations throughout all of this too here. Like you're gonna give me back the thing that, my life before the flames. So
Yeah, it's never really elaborated on here, and it says here what we started. I'll give you everything the old man could not. So the implication there is that he was working with the designer at some point, and whatever
mhm.
that agreement was, he couldn't figure it out.
Yep.
He couldn't make it possible. So that's really weird too. That'd be an interesting thing to follow. And there's all these I mean, so many of these characters. There's a lot of depths to them, and you don't get all the answers, and it's frustrating, but it also helps build the world. which I just
Well,
love, because as a reader now you know that this guy has intent. He has a background. He has a goal. He has a purpose to play in here. He's on many different pages, and there's more to him than we ever get, and that's really cool. I like it.
yeah, and there were questions that we had from Little Bird that we didn't get answers to until we read this too. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true. That's true.
that just opens up the world. Like I would love to get another storyline where we just get more questions and more answers.
Yeah, Selena walking around with Max's daughter right here. We have to go. She's worried about her mother still. She's never coming back, is she? No, she's not coming back. And you're all I have now, my guardian angel. So, I mean, what a guardian angel to have. Somebody who literally backstabbed her father 3 issues ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, no kidding.
And the slow realization that, mom's gone, and there's nobody else around now. And my guardian angel looking up at the cross and everything, crazy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really good.
it's really driving home like the devout nature of Alina as a character too, and how that's going to impact the future.
Yeah. Yeah, she never weighs, right? She's always on the straight and narrow. It feels like
Hmm.
whatever. Yeah, it's interesting. She's talking about how you don't know me, you don't know what I've done. She's going back, doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on her faith that she was sent to protect her and to help her. And maybe they're here to help each other, and they're pretty much on the run from this war that's going on. I mean, I don't know what to say, but we have this amazing cityscape right here where our a combination of the 12 with the child with Max is stomping through all the different buildings and whatnot, trying to make their way towards the center of all this into the smoke area. And we get to see exactly what is being hidden back there, and we get this amazing shot right here as they breach the clouds rather, and we have the bishop with Bishop's army just saying, "My God, we were made by monsters." Incredible
Yeah,
shot right here of this continuing battle between Project Wormwood and the 12 and the child.
I love the
Whew.
scope of this picture as well because you can see like just
Yeah,
how massive the 12 is, and you don't even need to draw the clones. All you have is like the lasers that are coming out of them to evoke where
yeah,
they're at. It's awesome.
they're just specks at the
Yeah,
at the at the at the at the distal point of that line. It's crazy, and I love that reaction. Just the my God, just the scale of everything.
yeah, exactly.
So good. We're going to get more impossible pages here, just showcasing how bloody and disastrous this whole entire thing is. Max is, reminding him we're almost there, and all the 12 can say is they burn the sacred flesh, they burn the flesh, and that's just exactly what's happening. And I think as a reader, you don't exactly know. You might piece it together in the moment, but maybe on a second or third reread. But they're actually heading towards whatever this puzzle is that has now been completed. That's the main goal right here. We're trying to reach that, and we don't exactly know to what end or why or anything like that, but that's the ultimate goal right here. Love that.
Yep.
And Max wants to be taken up towards it, like whatever it is, he's being drawn to it because they have a connection and power and whatever. So
Yeah, but again, just
really,
like I've said in every other issue here, and every single time when you have that moment of hope, you see the 12
yep.
and Max come crashing down when they are so close to their final goal.
Project Wormwood is too much, man. All those lasers burn in the flesh. He eventually collapses right in front of the cube, unable to
Yeah.
do anything about it. Max rolls up in front, and here's our tracker. Here's our dude again. He's just always there, always hunting down you again, right? Where's the child? And they go back at it. Incredible, incredible scene.
Yeah. And we learn now why Max had that artificial
Yeah,
arm in Little Bird.
that's true. Yep, that's true. Grabs him by the face, by the arm, rips his arm off, stabs him right through the stomach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he really goes through it in this series.
sure does. We have Selena and Alina on the run right here. What's happening? And she actually looks over in among the chaos. Where's the child watching her dad get beaten to death? Right here, essentially. And I don't know. Maybe I can study the perspectives, but I don't know if he glances over and sees them fleeing. I don't think so, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be a beautiful little moment to see if they, I don't know, locked eyes for a half a second.
Yeah, because we have Selena saying, it's nothing, right? Because she's asking what's happening, keep moving, and so she understands. I think she does. I think she sees what's happening down here, right? Because
Oh
that
yeah.
shot is too far back. I think that's exactly what's going on, as
Yeah.
everyone's fleeing towards these escape pods that are on the city ground now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it goes to show also how much the church and specifically Sinai don't understand about the scope of everything that's happened here because he's
Mm.
asking, "Where's the child here?" Like he doesn't
Yeah.
understand
They have
that
no
is
idea
the
what that they
child.
integrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Max pleading to the 12, 12, please, as it's unconscious laying next to them while they're getting their battle on.
Yep.
Selena having to take out some of the guards, preventing them from leaving the city. Just you
Yep.
just see arms and blood just up into the
She's
air.
good at that.
She does that really well. Realization now that all she was really doing was getting Alina to safety, and she's going to go back out there and save her. Just like my father, just like my mother and my father before that. Says, "No, I'm going to protect you the way that someone should have protected me when I was a girl." One day you'll understand this kind of stuff. I feel like there's a lot of emotional foundation stuff happening on this page that sets this character up later, and I think we can spoil that at the end of this book
Yeah, for sure.
as we get there. But I feel like this is the turning point right here where she kind of finally breaks a little bit. Maybe I don't know. There's a lot going on here, but one day I don't expect you to understand. But when you get older, you look back on this differently. That has to have some weight
Oh yeah, for
that I
sure.
haven't
Yeah.
figured out yet. Yeah.
Mhm.
We have our victory pose standing over Max, trying to, take him out as he's pleading to the 12 to wake up. Basically making him admit that he wants to die. Admit it. You want this to end just as much as I do. Such This is such a great shot
Dude,
with
yeah.
Sinai sitting here with all the Project Wormwood above him, with in the rain coming down.
Yeah, talk about
Jesus,
ominous, man. Like, I mean, no hope. There is zero hope left in that panel
man,
whatsoever.
he's just beaten to a pulp. Crazy. And then, man, third time's the charm, dude. We have Selena jumping up on here, go. I aim for the head.
Dude, but like what an effective use of the page turn here as well. Like he
Mm-hmm.
has his head in his fist basically
Yep.
ready to
Yeah.
squeeze and we turn just to see the end of this character.
And she pulls right through. The blade's positioned perfectly, pulls right through, splitting him right in half. I always wanted to do that, or I
Ah,
always wanted that. And as he not only he doesn't do this, he does this right here.
yes, exactly.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Selena essentially helping Max out. He saved his daughter. Now she's saving him, right? You got to get to the 12. You got to get to the 12. Take me over there. And this is where the bishop and bishop's army realizes that they've been betrayed by Selena, taking out their bounty hunter and helping out Max at the same time.
Yep, exactly.
So good. Climbing up into the hand again, a great sense of scale right there. Pushing him up onto there and basically saying, I'll buy you some time, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's
You're
still got to
you're
figure out some way to evoke the child or the 12 to basically reawaken and get back up, stand back up.
yeah. And again, now she understands the full potential of all this. Listen carefully, my father. He placed something inside of you. You knew he would find me. Yeah, none of that matters. You need to remember, you're the key to ending this, Max. The boy that became a weapon, which is interesting because like what I assumed was the boy that became a weapon was the child this whole time.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
but it plays for both of them. Now it's Max. Now it's Max who is the boy who became a weapon. So they're both the same thing. It's just, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, layers upon layers.
Yeah, and then with the reuniting of Max with the 12 slash the child, whatever that is, he can sense that it's still alive. Yes, we are one, and it rallies together for like one last push up with Max in his palm, straight up into the air towards the cube, whatever that might be. You know, the bishop yelling for the angels, "Bring me death," and every single one of them at once is just going right at that arm, trying to
Yeah,
stop this whatever this last ditched effort is, which is incredible. All at the same time, Selena being impaled
numerous times.
numerous
Yeah,
times to allow this to happen. Such a great moment, man.
dude. The bottom panel here too, like
I,
release me. Like
yeah,
like the
yeah,
different interpretations of that because yes, it's very physically like release me, toss me towards it,
yeah.
but also release me from this mission, release me from like all
This
of the
duty,
agony,
whatever it
whatever.
is. I can't undersell whatever it is. The first time flipping through this and flipping each page, you're just in awe every single time you've turned the page at the story. Like,
Yeah,
just
so true.
seeing this stuff happen. That's why I said before, like, this book really ruins comics for you, because you just know what is possible, and you judge all other books by it, and it's so hard not to.
Yes, exactly. But we should as well.
You should, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great. This is cool. I never noticed this. So he ends up throwing Max right towards this cube-like structure. All the beams from the Project Wormwood are being deflected, which I've never noticed before. That is such a weird thing. What's going on there?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
I don't know.
Did you know?
Maybe
Did you pick
some.
up on that? I didn't. I never did until just
I
now.
can't say
It's
that I did. No,
so
like
weird.
maybe just like the power that Max has within himself is, I don't know, deflecting them, redirecting them, if you
Or the
will.
cube structure itself has some kind of a negative to their positive, whatever. So
Oh,
it's,
that could be too.
or
Yeah.
it's two positive forces
Yeah.
fighting each other. Interesting. In any case, we're heading towards this dreamlike structure. It's actually clouded in mystery and the fog and the waves, whatever, however you want to interpret it. And he's going between the seams into this dreamlike state or whatever it might be. Right? He's reliving this memory that we're going to be seeing crashing into the waters, on the waves, riding the waves onto the shore. I know this place. I've seen it before. The roar of distant waves, the dream ships burning on the horizon, the voice cries out from the wreckage as the ocean draws its final breath, consuming whatever those boats were in the past. I mean, interpret this how you want, but like, it's all coming full circle with the first time that they met right here. And it says,
Yep.
what is this? We're building a memory. Full circle from issue number one.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. It evokes. It draws on all those different things here, and yeah, this is beat for beat, panel for panel,
Yep.
what we've been delivered. This is what the story is all meant, beginning to end.
Yep. Yep. A memory to save us all. It says here, do you remember it, Dreamer? When you were a child, I think so. And then he starts talking about how there's a key, there's a series of words, there's a phrase that he needs to say to kind of like put an end to this, to stop all this, to use whatever this power that's been collected this entire time, whatever it might be. And he's talking about how his mother was praying the day before the ocean took us. And he's, trying to get him to remember that moment right there. And so his mom's actually reciting one of the lines over in Revelations, talking about the third trumpet and wormwood. And at the same time, we're having this flashback or whatever this moment might be, where the designer is actually placing this, whatever this power, this, he's imbuing him with something, right? Knowledge, power, whatever it might be, a memory of sorts, into Max's head as he's reciting the memory of what his mom spoke to him right here. And
Yeah.
when he completes it, I think it either unlocks the final cube or it consolidates all the cubes into one. It does something, right? Whatever it is, it's poetic and beautiful in this whole scene.
Yeah, it's the key that unlocks everything. It does make me question. I wonder, because of the nature of the designer, did he know that that was like a memory that was so indicative to Max that he would always remember it, or did he maybe make it more prevalent in his mind, something that he kept revisiting over and over and over in his life?
Man, it's a good question, man.
Yeah, no answer to it, but something to
Yeah,
ponder.
it is a good question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love how we also get the child starting to dissipate in the cube-like fashion that we've seen from everything else here as we see the finality of all of this start to happen.
yeah. And again, the implication here is that the child and Max were imbued with the same kind of power. There's something that draws them together. There's something that happens when you combine forces or whatever it might be, work towards a common goal. And Max is kind of like the key to detonate this bomb in some way, right? And
Mhm.
all he has to do is apply himself, overcome the odds. Remember who he was, remember who he wants to be, or whatever it might be, and he then now has the power to end this chaos in the world that he lives in, whatever it might be. It's just it's really great. And
Yep.
so we go back to not easy picking a beginning. In many ways, there never was one. So I'll start at the end, which is a direct reflection to how this whole story started. And you get to see the fog lift, the war end, or whatever it might be. He's still in this dream state, but he has the power of all of whatever this has been now consolidated down into this cube right here. And he's talking about the man that became a weapon, the man without a past who tried to save him. Crazy.
Yeah. And you see the tears streaming down his eye too as he
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really powerful stuff.
Yep. We get to see what happens on the outside world now, outside of the dreamlike state, where we have the axe. We thought he was dead with all of his flesh traders. He eventually worked his way through them, but he's surrounded by their carcasses, but he's still impaled. But now he's getting to see Project Wormwood, all the different clones literally falling out of the sky, fallen angels,
Yeah,
and
just
just kind of
raining down.
raining down everywhere. And so he says, "Holy shit, he did it." What a great panel this is. Selena being impaled all over the place. She's dead, eyes wide open, but you see the reflection of the Project Wormwood in her eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's
And then
eerie.
seeing the character again of Alina being surrounded by all of this,
Yeah,
surrounded
she's
by it.
walking through all the splatter.
Yeah. And then coming across the bishop of all characters.
Bishop completely broken, armies decimated. Who knows, man? Everything that he wanted, everything he was working for is completely destroyed around him. And Alina finds him and they sit down together. Everything I've worked for gone. Lord, what do you want from me? I know what he wants. He wants us to let go of the idea that someone besides God himself is going to save us. And he's, not too convinced, but, perhaps, right? And so he's going to continue his mission, in other words, right? God
Yeah,
will have his
exactly.
day on this land and beyond. I will not give up on saving this wretched place. And so I love this moment because he gets up to go back to business and she's like, I ain't got nobody else. I'll go with you. Cause he seems to have faith, right? And that's a common connection between these two characters. So she ends up leaving with him.
Yep, exactly. That sets the stage for a lot of interesting things.
Yeah. Flash forward, New Vatican a year later. We've seen this kind of scene inside of Little Bird before. These indoctrinated like students in a way, just kind of sitting there in their practices. And there's a monologue here. There's some dialogue from Max basically saying, been thinking about the ocean again, how I was never able to escape it. He wasn't the father he was supposed to be, whatever it is, but he's found a way to maybe pass on a legacy, pass on the power, pass on the message, pass on whatever it might be. Here's that tree again, or a tree again. That's reminiscent of
Hmm.
what we've seen. And we find Bunny. And inside of Bunny, we find that power cube that we've seen previously. And so I'm leaving you with the only thing I have left, a memory of how it all happened. So this is whatever it is, right? Being passed down to the next generation to his daughter that he was never there for to begin with.
Yeah, a lot of different ways you could take that too. Is it a memory? Is it some power manifestation? There's so
Yeah.
many different things that this could turn out to be.
Yep. Then we get our scene from Little Bird. This is directly ripped from that. This is 35 years later. We see an old Max Weaver right here going back to the Groundhog, which was a vessel that they loaded with explosives to help save the day in Little Bird. And he's, contemplating right here about how he's failed his family, but he's still trying to redeem himself in some way. And so he's proud about the woman that she'll become one day, and hopefully that the bond they have now with each other, that they can find a way to kind of come back to each other, be a family again one day. And this is exactly ripped right from Little Bird as he's finding the groundhog
Hmm.
to help save the resistance against the bishop and Little Bird. Great work here.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful ending to a fantastic story.
Yep. And that is the end of Precious Metal right there. So in case you did not catch up on the implications of what this could possibly mean over here, we definitely have some things going on with the connection between the bishop and his advisor, I think that he calls her, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, like we said before, we had in the previous issue of Precious Metal, issue number 6, we had the bishop walking away with Alina, who was Max's daughter. This is actually 35 years after the events of Precious Metal. We see the bishop hanging out over here, and we get to see what happens with her. She's imbued with some kind of power inside of here, but she's kind of the moral compass used lightly. She kind of keeps him in check in a way, right? Keeps the faith alive inside of him, and you can see how that story plays out in her Little Bird breakdown. But what a great way to make this connection between Little Bird and the final moments of Precious Metal into the beginning of Little Bird here.
Yep. And again, it kind of goes back because I remember when we broke down Little Bird, we questioned, what is this orb around her? What does this even mean? What does all of this
For
have to
sure.
do with anything? Well, we kind of get those answers here in Precious Metal. So it goes to
She's
show the world
yeah,
building that Darcy and Ian are doing.
she's got some kind of an ability inside of her for sure.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when we take care of that towards the end of Little Bird, you have all this very recognizable power that she has inside of here, and says it doesn't end here, not like this. So she ends up taking care of Alina towards the end of this book, and now she's also now imbued with whatever the power is.
Yeah.
Maybe, who knows? We'll see in subsequent Little Bird books, but that would be really amazing if that's how it turns out. Really
Yeah. And
great
you see
storytelling here.
the eye in the sky in the background as well.
Yep, there it is again.
Yep.
It's suggesting that dreamlight state. Yeah, man. So cool. Well, guys, I hope you really appreciated that little breakdown of Precious Metal. That was a long one, but I think it was well worth the time and effort to put it through, to kind of unpack this entire thing. Man, Eric, thank you so much. Any final thoughts on this, man? We covered a lot of it today.
Yeah, a lot to go over, but I think it's absolutely worthwhile. Again, I think this is all on our best of list as the absolute best book of 2024.
Oh
Well
yeah.
worth it, well deserved. Darcy and Ian are just like really a powerhouse team in comics right now, and I can't wait to see what they put out next.
Thanks so much, man. We appreciate it. We'll see you all down below in the comments. Let us know if you read this one, what your thoughts are. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? What are your thoughts on the book? Let us know down below. All right, everybody, take care.